in Emmett Park in Castlefin. I forgot about that.
Any updates on what he's at? No?
Just that he's mischievousness, up to naughtiness.
Never up to no good. They're like a set of stairs, really. They're always up to something.
Did you prepare that before you came in here?
No,
that's worse than your Chris Rea joke yesterday. That was bad yesterday. That's in the past. Today's a new day. That was okay, right? So you have to come in. I'm
not committing to anything.
No, you have to come in with a Christmas cracker joke every day. No, he started now. That's 2 days in a row.
It has to be spontaneously. That's just the type of performer I am.
Natural, is that what you're saying? Tomorrow's Friday. Come in with a good one tomorrow.
We'll see.
No pressure, Greg.
All right, Lee, take care of yourself. Goodbye. It's the 9 till noon show. Lee back with you with the naughty alarm clock tomorrow morning at 6:30, but at just a minute past 9. Let's get a news update with Emma Ryan.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The HSE is facing mounting pressure to deliver a centre of excellence for people with diabetes in Donegal. The chair of the Regional Health Forum West says with the large number of people with type 1 diabetes in the county, it warrants an enhancement of treatment services at Letterkenny University Hospital. It's been confirmed that the recruitment of 2 permanent consultant endocrinologists for the hospital is underway. Councillor Jerry McMonigal has committed to keeping the pressure on until a centre of excellence is established.
We've had difficulties with the right number of consultants, podiatrists, dietitians, and it's been a battle every day for those campaigning. But I think what would put an end to all that is that we'll finally address the deficits in it and locate the centre of excellence here at Letterkenny University Hospital. Look, it's something I'll keep working with the diabetes group here in the county and keep raising it at the Regional Health Forum until we get an acceptable level of healthcare for those suffering with diabetes.
The government is being urged to ensure Duncaneley Health Centre services are restored. Donegal Deputy Thomas Pringle has told the Dáil that people are extremely worried about the future of the centre and the future of their town. He says he is awaiting a response from the HSE on the matter. Deputy Pringle told Taoiseach Micheál Martin that this is the latest in a long list of service withdrawals from the area.
Duncaneley has seen the closure after closure in recent years, such as the post office and the Garda station, so the town is understandably anxious about the sudden closure of yet another service. Patients have nowhere to go as doctors in the surrounding practices of Killybegs, Mount Charles and Donegal Town have been unable to take new patients for a while now due to high demand and lack of GP services in Donegal, South Donegal. So Taoiseach, what will your government do to make sure that these services are restored and available?
Deputy Pringle, I engage with the HSE in respect of the...
And finally, a cross-directorate working group needs to be established by Donegal County Council to examine the possibility of re-establishing a rail network in Donegal. The issue's been raised this week by Councillor Niamh Kennedy, who says there is a huge potential for movement in the context of the current emphasis on cross-border and shared island initiatives. She told members that all departments in the council, together with lobby groups such as Into the West, have a role to play in ensuring that the current renewed interest in rail is maximised.
Obviously we've got our roads and transportation, and it's very, very important to us, and we do visit the TIA on a regular basis. But this is a bigger thing again. This is where we do need the environment section to come in along with us, the tourism section, economic development, bring everybody in together and put our heads together and really focus on this.
Today's weather will be mainly cloudy with a few spots of light rain or drizzle, but overall plenty of dry weather. Highest temperatures of 9 to 12 degrees. That's all for now. We'll be back with a news update again at 10 o'clock, but until then, good morning.
The Euro Millions Mega Draw is back, and it's pretty big. I mean, it's totally massive. This Friday, the Euro Millions jackpot will be a guaranteed €130 million. It's just too big to miss.
Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. The 9 till Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
And a very good morning to you. It's 6 minutes past 9 right now on Thursday, the 1st of December 2022. We're into the final month of the year. And we've a busy show for you as always, don't you know? You can watch it, by the way, if you want to, on our website, highlandradio.com, or on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland. Or you can tune in on your smart speaker as well. Just give it your command and ask it to stream Highland Radio. And we want you involved in the conversation, and we'll remind you of the details of how you do so a little later on. But it is Thursday, lots of newspapers to look through, so let's get on with that. Let's start with the Donegal Democrat this morning. Letterkenny Town Centre is set to be transformed by a major new development. The wheels, we're told, are in motion for the construction of 6-storey and 4-storey buildings that will include 154 student bedrooms and 13 apartments. Plans have been lodged with Donegal County Council for one of the biggest developments in some time. A series of retail units, restaurants, cafes and office spaces are included, with a church to replace a similar amenity that is in use on the site are also planned in the heart of Letterkenny. The site in question is bounded by Port Road, Pierce Road, All Lane and an existing yard. The land has been zoned for commercial use. 10-year full planning permission has been sought by M&B Kelly Partnership for the development. Glenealy House would be demolished to make way for the ambitious new development. The adjacent Letterkenny Baptist Church, its bookshop, a car rental business and all existing structures on the site would be tossed under the proposed development. I wonder how that will go through planning. The Tyrconnell Tribune this morning, as winter closes in and against the backdrop of the Micah protest at County House Lifford on Monday, Brendan McLaughlin, the executive chair of the IFA in Donegal, has added his voice calling for urgent action to resolve this long-standing crisis that appears stuck forever in a no-man's land of bureaucracy, politics and broken promises. Brendan McLaughlin has called directly for intervention from Micheál Martin, saying the buck stops with the Taoiseach and it is imperative that he takes action to end this crisis before he leaves office on December 17th. As McLaughlin's reaches the end of his 4-year term in office, he said that Micah has been one of the big issues for Donegal and the farming community in that time. On to the Donegal news this morning, and a leading public health specialist has warned that the low number of people availing of flu vaccinations locally could put the health service under pressure within weeks. Dr. Anthony Breslin, Director of Public Health HSC Northwest, was speaking to the Donegal News yesterday amid concerns that not enough people are taking up the flu vaccine this winter. His fears come as Letterkenny University Hospital was one of the most overcrowded hospitals in the country in November, with 1,108 patients without beds. But what, of course, we did see towards the end of the summer, record numbers of people in Letterkenny University Hospital. It just is all year round now, but things particularly bad at the moment. Are you one of those people that maybe formally took the flu vaccine, but you haven't this year? I have my suspicions as to why people aren't taking the flu vaccine. I think maybe they feel that another one on top of the vaccines they've already taken, maybe they've heard stories about people's reactions to boosters and that's putting them off the flu vaccine. I don't know. But you do. If you're an individual out there and you ordinarily take the flu vaccine, why have you not taken it this year? Give us an insight into the decision making there. As I say, I suspect some of the reasons are those which I outlined. I'm not saying they're justified. I just think it's a reality. That's maybe what people are thinking. But I want to know what you're thinking. WhatsApp and text 08660 25000, 08660 25000. Let's go to the Dairy News. Shocking statistics have been revealed regarding how few services are procured within the city and district by 3 of its biggest public sector organisations: TransLink, Derry City and Strabane District Council and North West Regional College. The figures were obtained through Freedom of Information requests submitted by Derry City and Strabane District Councillor Emmett Doyle of Aintu, and you can read through what he discovered on the front of it inside that paper today. The Irish Independent, a story, Graham Dwyer, his trial, his conviction, his appeal. It's something I've not really taken a great deal of interest in, but it is of huge interest out there. The trial was one of the most covered trials in our recent history. And he's back in court today and possibly tomorrow. Lawyers for Graham Dwyer are set to tell the Court of Appeal the case against him should never have gone to a jury because there was an absence of evidence as to what caused childcare worker Elaine O'Hara's death. The issue, as well as the lawfulness of the seizure of his mobile phone data, is among 12 grounds of appeal being advanced. Dwyer's long-awaited appeal against his murder conviction gets underway in front of the 3-judge court today. and the jailed Foxrock architect is expected to attend in person. Most of the focus in the run-up has been on the 50-year-old successful challenge to the Supreme Court and Court of Justice for the EU to the law under which his mobile phone metadata was seized and retained. This will allow him to argue the metadata evidence crucial to making a link between him and Ms. O'Hara should have been excluded from his trial. Another issue to be raised is that videos of Dwyer involved in sex acts with women, including Ms. O'Hara, during which they screamed. I'll just skip over that next bit just because some people might still be on the way to school. He thinks they should not have been played, but instead descriptions read into evidence. We'll see how that pans out. It's no jury, it's 3 judges. The Irish Times, EU to beef up Brexit deal enforcement capabilities with tariffs. So they're flexing their muscles against the British, it seems. The European Union is to enhance its powers to enforce its Brexit agreement with Britain through retaliatory trade tariffs. The new legislation will empower the EU to revoke free trade arrangements with Britain and impose restrictions on investment or other activities if London breaches its side of deals signed during the Brexit process, including, most importantly for us, you could argue, the Northern Ireland Protocol. The European Commission's Brexit lead, Maros Sefcovic, said the new powers would allow us, Europe, if needed, to enforce our agreement, Europe's, with the UK, describing it as continued unity in action. There might be some good news on the prices front. Inflation, lull, raises hope price rises have peaked. I'll just read this one to try to pick out some positive news here. Inflation appeared to stall in figures released yesterday, sparking hope that sky-high price growth is past its peak as joblessness levels in Ireland continue to fall. This is quite a remarkable piece of news here. The state's unemployment rate fell to a decade low of 4.4% in November as Irish inflation slowed to 9%, a figure still far in excess of pre-pandemic norms, but some perhaps positive indicators that we aren't going to see this continued increase in prices. But statistically, are we at full employment here? 4.4% of the working population isn't working, and there is a proportion of those people who can't work, and there's other reasons as well. So that's positive news. Let's hope that trend stays in that direction and we can get through this recessionary period without fully going into the full throes of recession, though, as I'm fully aware, many people listening to this programme today are being hit very, very heavy with rising costs and effective wage cuts or social welfare cuts because of that rise in inflation. But hopefully it's as bad as it will get. We shall see. There are the haves, of course, and the have-nots. I've talked of the have-nots. Here are the haves, because there are a lot of people in this country making significant money and able to bank it. Can you believe that? How much savings would you say are on in accounts in Ireland? I can tell you it's really quite remarkable. 149 billion euro. That's how many people have saved. Personal savings are at record levels despite inflation hitting near 40-year highs, new figures have revealed. Deposits grew by the largest amount in 15 months in October, increasing by 1.6 billion over the month to a staggering 149 billion. Year-on-year household deposits increased by over 8.1 billion or 5.8%, according to figures released by the central bank. During periods of high inflation, people are more inclined to spend before prices rise, according to economic theory. However, one financial expert said people were saving because they have less opportunity to spend their wealth. It would be very interesting to get a breakdown, though, of how many people account for that 149 billion. You know what I mean, in terms of the higher figures. We'd never get that information, but I don't think it's lots and lots and lots of people with relatively small amount of savings. I would suspect that there are, a group of people, and fair play to them, probably work very hard, but they're probably banking the majority of that. Does that make financial sense? Just a suspicion. I have no clue, if the truth be told. Right, let's go to the Irish Farmers Journal. 2 schemes to destock the national suckler herd have been recommended to Minister for Agriculture Charlie McConalogue by the chair of the Food Vision Beef and Sheep Group, Professor Thea Hennessy. Destocking a farmer's suckler herd has been estimated at up to €1,350 per cow in terms of income foregone. in the Food Vision Beef and Sheep final report. No proposal for compensation payments was included. The document recommends that suckler farmers be incentivised through voluntary schemes to wind up their operations completely or cut back on some cows. So, now maybe I'm reading this correctly, but is this the same as the fishing industry under the auspices of the Minister, Charlie McConalogue, that really farmers and fishers are being invited to cease activity for money? 086 60 25,000 if you have any insight into that. The Daily Star tells us that protests against Asylum Seeker Centre in East Wall area of Dublin are set to continue 3 evenings a week and will escalate to a different level, organisers have warned. The protesters say they will continue with their demonstrations until the government accedes to the demands of the local residents to close the centre, a former ESB building. It comes as up to 400 men, women and children turned out for yesterday evening's protest, which resulted in a second closure of the Port Tunnel. At the minute, we are protesting Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays due to the busy Christmas period, organiser Malachi Steenson told the paper. But we are planning to escalate to a different level, he said, but would not reveal the protesters' plans. If you're interested in how much has been spent so far by the state to house those fleeing the Ukrainian situation, 354 million has been spent on providing accommodation for Ukrainian refugees so far this year. That's according to the Integration Minister Roderick O'Gorman. In response to a parliamentary question from Sinn Féin TD Pa Daly, the Green Minister confirmed that 14,000 rooms have been acquired by the Department of Integration to date. This included hotels, guest houses, B&Bs or any other property not owned by an arm of the state. And it's an awful lot of money, and I just wonder how much of that money could have been saved if the Red Cross and others, the council, whoever was responsible, had properly gone through the applications from people to let their property be used for the housing of Ukrainians. I just wonder where that bill would be at if instead they didn't decide to throw the money into the pockets of hotels and others. Have you been watching the Sean Quinn documentary? I asked the same question yesterday. Obviously, it's throwing up headlines as it's being broadcast. The Irish Sun tells us that Sean Quinn has said Kevin Lunny should never have been attacked, but has nothing good to say about the businessman. The ex-billionaire insisted he had absolutely nothing to do with the shocking assault. Last night saw the third instalment of an RTE documentary on the former tycoon Quinn Country, which discussed the 2019 abduction and brutal beating of the COO of Quinn Industrial Holdings. He denied any suggestions he hired Cyril McGuinness to go after Lunny. The Cavan man said, "I knew him, yeah. Everybody knew Dublin Jimmy. In fact, he didn't like being called Dublin Jimmy. I didn't call him anything. How are you doing?" That's as far as I went. He said of the intimidation of Lunny and others brought in to run the firm after his bankruptcy, "Why would I bother my head with Kevin Lunny?" And on it goes. I wonder was last night's the most interesting. I don't know. I'm going to watch it all, as I mentioned on the programme yesterday. It's just hard to find the time at that time of the evening. For me, anyway. Right, okay. Let's go finally to the Irish Daily Mirror. And animal activists have slammed the decision to have a live crib in the capital this year. The National Animal Rights Association has said that it was incredibly inappropriate to use animals. And campaigners for animal welfare also said using them as props for entertainment in a nativity scene does nothing to evoke the Christmas spirit. Green Lord Mayor Caroline Conroy caused a public outcry last month when she announced there would be no farm animals at the traditional live crib outside the Mansion House this year, but another one has been established. But what do you think? Like, I don't, especially with animatronics and everything now, is there any point in having live animals in that scenario just for people to walk up and look at? I don't know. Maybe it's just the same as a petting zoo and it's grand. I have no idea, but maybe we've moved past it. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think the time for live nativity scenes, cribs, is over? I don't think we have too many of them around here, do we? Or if it's part of the tradition, it's right. It should be. It's perfectly fine to do it that way. 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and text to that number, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. And don't forget, you can watch the programme on our website, highlandradio.com, on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, or across all of our Facebook pages, and everything seems to be working properly today. We did have some issues yesterday, but all going good.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
On this week's Business Matters, I'll be joined by the owner of Batch Coffee House, Bar and Kitchen in Falkirra, Kieran McGarvey. So join me, Kieran O'Donnell, for Business Matters on Sunday evening after the 6 o'clock news. The Business Matters podcast is also available to download at highlandradio.com.
Business Matters in association with the ATU Donegal Faculty of Business. If you're looking to reinforce your leadership skills, ATU are offering Level 9 Executive Masters in Leadership and Innovation for private and public sector managers starting in January. Take the next step in your career and call 9186206 or email donald.hannigan@atu.ie.
On Friday, Jive Time will be live from the 10th Birthday Bash at the Dry Arch Complex. There's in-store giveaways all week at the Dry Arch, and this Friday they'll be giving away a €1,000 holiday voucher, hampers and much, much more. David's special guest is Derek Ryan. That's the Jive Time show this Friday from 2:30 at the Dry Arch Complex, Letterkenny.
At Life Pharmacy, our focus continues to be your family's health, immunity and well-being. As the months get colder, managing our health gets ever more important. So call in to your local Life Pharmacy for expert advice on vitamins, supplements and everything you need to protect your family and help build immunity. Visit Ward's Life Pharmacy in Johnstown Village and discover a team that's always there to help you. Life Pharmacy. Live better together.
Have you taken out a commercial lease on a property such as a business property, shop unit, factory or agricultural land? Have you registered details of that commercial lease with the Property Services Regulatory Authority, the PSRA? If not, you may be breaking the law. Tenants of commercial leases are legally required to register the lease with the PSRA within 30 days of receipt of the related stamp certificate from the Revenue Commissioners. It's an offence not to. Remember, register details of your commercial lease online now at psr.ie.
The Nissan Juke and the Nissan Qashqai available for immediate January delivery. Unbeatable comfort, specification and safety features. With hybrid and e-power now available as engine options, call in to see what all the fuss is about. Visit iMotors in Letterkenny or check out imotors.ie.
All right, okay, Noel Slevin joins us now. He's had a bit of an experience with An Post Bank, and he wants to share that experience in the hope that maybe it might help others falling foul like he may have, or he did, in fact. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Noel, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
All right,
how are you?
I'm good. And what about yourself, Noel?
Okay, everything fine.
That is
good. At last. Once I got back from London,
right. Okay. Well, we'll find out. So, tell us, you went to London, and what happened to you?
Yeah, I went to London for a week from Thursday to Thursday to see another friend and to have a family reunion. And unfortunately, on the Sunday night, I lost my bank card. I realised late on Sunday night that I had no bank card. So on Monday morning, I phoned to cancel the card. And as usual, it took approximately 3/4 of an hour being put on hold and all. So fine, I got that through. And I said to them, right, okay, I'm here in London. Can I get access to my funds? And they said no, that unfortunately they didn't have any arrangement with any English bank whereby I could get any money. So heretofore I would have been with Ulster Bank, and they did have an arrangement with NatWest in London whereby you could transfer, if the same thing happened, you could transfer funds into an account in the UK, and everything was fine. But anyway, so I said, well, I'm stuck here in London. I've obviously no way of getting access to my funds. And they said, yeah, they were sorry, but that was the case. They would reissue me with a new card, which would take 7 working days, and I'd reissue to my home in Donegal. And I said, well, that doesn't seem too good a business arrangement to me. What am I supposed to do here? Well, they weren't aware of the fact that I was staying with relations and fine, and I wouldn't have been stuck anyway, but that wasn't the point. The point that I'm trying to get across is that if you were stuck in Spain, Cyprus, or somewhere else, with the same situation, and you didn't have anybody with you, or you didn't have relations or friends that could help you out, where does that leave you? You know, I just want to make people aware that if they are with and post bank and the same thing happens, they're in trouble. I mean, I suppose you could go to the embassy or somewhere, but like, you know, I think we should. I know they're a new bank and all that, and they're probably not just up 100% yet, but I think they should have some arrangement whereby if somebody was caught in my situation, that they could get some way to get access to funds.
Well, can I make a suggestion, by the way, just for future, for anyone listening? And this is not a solution to your problem, but you can establish, there are online-only banks that you can establish immediately and get an IBAN immediately and set up as, if you have the ability to pay on your phone, you know, to tap your phone, and you could have established one of them and got money transferred to that, presumably. Now, maybe that didn't cross your mind, or maybe it doesn't suit you.
Exactly, it didn't cross my mind, but...
But that's not a solution. You shouldn't have to do that. I'm just saying, in case anyone gets stuck, I just thought I'd throw it out there. It doesn't take away from your point at all, Noel.
No, but even they never even suggested that to me. Their attitude was, well, hard luck, mate. You know, you're stuck there. There's nothing we can do to get back. Then the other point then I made to them was, right, okay, I'm coming back Thursday again. I have no funds, right? It's going to take 7 days to get my new card issued, an active card issued yesterday. I said, what am I going to do with money in between times? And they said, well, ring us back when you get back to Ireland. We'll give you an emergency number. You can go to your local post office and get emergency money of €200.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I got back here to Ireland again, the card still hadn't issued. So, again, I went through the same procedure, having to ring them, take another 3/4 of an hour, put on hold, eventually got my number, fair enough, no problem, got my 200. But, you know, it just brought home to me, Greg, that if anybody was caught in that similar situation and didn't know, like not everybody like yourself would be IT savvy.
Or not have a phone that has NFC. So as
exactly,
I say, it doesn't. The majority of people probably don't or wouldn't. I'm just saying it in case it helps. Like you're talking about being over in London, and you give good examples like London or Barcelona or wherever. But what about if you were in Belfast? I mean, does An Post have an arrangement with Bank on this island in Northern Ireland for these types of situations? Now,
that's something I'm not aware. I'm not aware, Greg, what they're doing. I would presume that like. Northern Ireland being part of the UK, I would think not.
I agree,
but,
I think you're right in that presumption.
And like another thing that it brought home to me as well at the time, you know, I was lucky in that nobody tried to access funds, but the danger of contactless transactions. If I had left that card along the street or wherever, and somebody actually got it, they can actually tap that card 3 times and get £50 out of it before the card is stopped.
Yeah,
this is the danger of contactless banking. I know
it really is, because, and I'll tell you, like you can get wallets that have a metal guard in them, and I'd advise anyone to get those, because it's not as big as a problem here at the moment, but it might do. But in London, on the tubes, on buses, and other major cities and other areas, because you can, for very little money, you can get one of these these contactless cards machines, and you can link it to a personal account. Like you can go around tapping people's back pockets on a bus or a train. You know, people should either switch that off, or certainly make sure the card is contained in a wallet or purse that has sort of the metal barriers, because as you say, it is so easy. Tap, tap, tap 3 times, and that's it. You're out the money.
That's it. And your 150 is gone. Just I think there's some mechanism where if it's tapped 3 times, then the card is
not always. Not always. Because if you go out Christmas shopping, you know, you might go to 5 or 6 shops and tap 5 or 6 times, and you'll never be asked to put your PIN in. So, certainly not with the bank I'm with, but I think you're raising a couple of really important points about travelling abroad with your cards, especially in this day and age now.
It would be good, Greg, if you could find out just what is somebody said to me, to read the terms and conditions of my arrangement with the bank. But I mean, who, Greg, reads the small print
No one.
and all those things? Nobody.
No,
Because
you presume.
whenever you join the bank, you get reams of paper. Like, you're not going to read everything. It's only just because of my experience, and it would be interesting to find out from An Post, because what is the story? Are they going to have an arrangement with UK bank or with banks throughout the world, or wherever? Because
banking partners that funds can be transferred. Yeah, exactly. I think this is a good question. We're actively inquiring, Noel, on your behalf and on other listeners' behalf, because
I mean, I'm not saying, Greg. I mean, I'm not running down on Post Bank. I know they're only a new bank, they're only starting off, and they probably have teething problems and all that. But it's just to warn people that if they're stuck abroad, I don't know what you'd do if you were out in Cyprus or Spain on your own.
Maybe a lot of
people go on holidays on their own, and I don't know what you'd do.
Well, what I do, not that I haven't been away for years and years at this stage, but what I do.
Well, that was my first trip abroad since COVID.
When I was over in London, what I did is I have a Revolut card. And transferred money from my current account into the Revolut card. And what that means is if I lose that and I have €80 in it, I can only ever lose €80. So I tend to use one of those internet banking cards. But as you say, that's not for everyone. A lot of people sort of are brand loyal as well, and they trust the An Post brand. So I get that. And I don't think you're being critical or running them down. I think this is a constructive criticism.
I'm certainly not being critical. I'm not being
critical. Yeah.
No, I'm not being critical of the thing at all. As I say, I've been talking to quite a few people from come home about this, and they also mentioned the two options that you've given, the Revolut card and the other online to get money transferred. That's okay for myself and yourself. Now that I know about it, I could do that. But it was a quandary for me on the Monday morning to get up and discover I had no card and no way of getting access to my funds. And thank God I had funds there. But only that I was with, as I say, relations and friends, which spaced me out to get me home and all that.
But
no
still,
problem.
it's kind of a bit. Do you find yourself over-explaining? When you're out in London, the next thing you've got the handout, and I know it depends how close you are to them, but you feel like you have to sign an affidavit that your card actually is lost, and you're just not a skint chancer. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I swear my card's lost. I swear I can print you a bank statement when I get home. But anyway, listen, I think you're right. An Post need to have a safety net. We can't rely on us to maybe have backup cards and all this type of stuff. So I think you're spot on, and I think An Post hopefully will take it on board. We'll see what they have to say, Noel.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, just Greg, to see what they would say about that. As I say, I'm not running down the bank, but I just want to make people aware, and that's the reason I got in touch with you.
And that's coming through loud and clear. I know it was mixed reasons you went over to London. I'm glad you got home safe, and hope you had a satisfactory time.
No problem.
No, listen.
And enjoyed my trip. Yeah, as I say, after 3 years not been anywhere basically because of COVID. Like a lot
you
of
mustn't
people.
have known yourself in a big
city. Shall we say it was incident followed anyway.
All right. Okay. Well, listen, you got there in the end. Okay. Thanks very much. Take care of yourself. That's Noel there.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Seasonal loans now available for Christmas. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Highland Radio are on the road in 2023. Join us for our trip to Dublin on Thursday the 23rd of February to see the 25th anniversary show of Michael Flatley's Lord of the Dance. This show has amazed audiences across the globe with its fusion of high energy, Irish dancing, original music and storytelling. Sit back and relax as we take care of everything.
Your trip includes luxury transfers to and from Dublin, staying at the 4-star Clayton Hotel in Dublin, including breakfast and your ticket to the show. Call us today on 074 91 25000 for more information.
What's gravity? When does the grass grow greener? Can people with longer legs jump higher? How are plastic cups made? How filthy are our parents? Which ingredients make the best slime? Why do we dream? Are you faster than a calculator? Could a robot be powered by fruit or vegetables?
Kids are full of curious questions. ESB Science Blast, delivered by the RDS, empowers children to investigate the science behind simple questions just like these ones. Find out how your school can get involved at esbscienceblast.com.
Santa Claus has arrived at Foyleside Shopping Centre. Visit him in his magical grotto located on level 2 and feel festive with free family fun activities throughout December. With late night shopping, convenient parking and over 50 stores to choose from. Foyleside is the ultimate destination this Christmas. Foyleside.co.uk.
Hello, Hill 16 Insurance. How can I help you? Up the dubs.
Hi. I am looking for a home insurance quote.
Righto, and what part of Dublin do you live in?
I don't actually live in Dublin.
Right. Do you lease a part of dubs?
What? I'm just looking for home insurance.
Well, you're going to have to keep looking, pal, because Hill 16 is Dublin only.
Do you get the feeling that your insurer doesn't want you? Well, at Local Insurance, we are Irish owned and understand your needs. Call us today for a bespoke quote on 0818 894 444. Local Insurance, we'll get you sorted. The Local Insurance Network, DAC Trading's Local Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Local Insurance is a tied insurance intermediary of Acorn Brokerage Limited. Acorn Brokerage Limited, trading as Acorn Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Christmas has arrived at Patterson's. Christmas trees and decorations now on display. Christmas gifts, from Hollywood mirrors to wall art to home fragrances, you'll find the perfect gift at Patterson's. There's a large range of dining tables and chairs, sofas, mattresses and bedroom furniture in stock and ready for Christmas delivery. Open Monday to Saturday 9 a.m. till 5:30 p.m. with free local delivery. Patterson's the Hall Lifford for everything you need this Christmas.
And you're very welcome back to the programme. Now, we find ourselves, as we head into this next conversation, in an awful situation in that 146 people have lost their lives on the roads so far in 2022. That's an increase of 27 people on last year. And we are heading into the Christmas period, which we know can be a particularly dangerous period on our roads. Inspector Seamus McGonigal joins us in studio now. Seamus, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Morning, Greg.
Right, okay, so one second now. This microphone is playing up on me here. I'll see if I can get it working now. Good morning.
Good morning.
I have you, yes. Now, before we talk about the new tool in the Garda's armoury, the Christmas period is one that requires particular attention, isn't it? Because, of course, for many reasons, holiday traffic, the weather conditions and what have you, we can see an increase in road traffic collisions, which is fatalities, but of course an awful lot of people, with life-changing injuries as well.
Indeed, yeah. I think at all periods, Greg, at all holiday periods, there's an increase in accidents or collisions on the roads. The Christmas period is a particular problem. People are out socialising. They let their hair down, so to speak. And unfortunately, there is an increase in the number of drug driving and drink driving detections always over the Christmas period. And unfortunately, it's the knock-on effect for there's an increase in fatalities and serious injury on the roads always in the Christmas period. Now, it's something in Garda Síochána in conjunction with the other road safety authorities. And we try to put plans in place. Indeed, we do put plans in place every year to try and counteract this, and this year is no different.
Yeah, and more now, particularly because of new ways of detection, when we look at the figures of people being detected under the influence, it's drink and it's drugs. Drugs is right up there. In some occasions, it's ahead of drink. And as we go into this holiday season, there's the Christmas parties and all that are starting now. This is why we're talking about it at the start of the month.
It is, yeah, but we can never forget that alcohol is still the main intoxicant that is used by drivers on the roads in Ireland. But there has been a focus in the last number of years on drug driving. In fact, it's only 5 years since the drug driving legislation was enacted in this country, and successfully so, in the sense that there's been a huge increase in the number of prosecutions for drug driving over the last number of years. It's something that we spoke about before, Greg. Over the COVID period, there was actually a spike in drug driving, but that's kind of levelled off as such now vis-a-vis drink driving. But both remain a serious issue, and it's just constantly making that appeal to everybody, every driver out there: do not be taking drugs or drinking when you intend to drive.
Yeah, now today we're announcing an intensive 6-week road safety enforcement campaign across the country to Christmas and into the new year. And Gardaí will have at their disposal now a new secure tech drug wipe, 6S it's called, but what it is really it's a new piece of equipment that will you explain the benefits of it from a Garda perspective?
It's another tool in our toolbox in the fight against fatalities and serious injury on the roads. As I said, for the last 5 years we've been using machine called a Drager 5000. That's the name for it. As of midnight last night, the Drager 5000 is gone, and we've got a new, more portable, faster to use, and an increased recognition of drugs with this new drug swipe success. Now, if I can explain some of the system we had before in these terms, Drager 5000, in practical terms, that meant that the guard stopped you at the side of the road. They put a sampling pad in your mouth, took a sample, then had to go to the back of the patrol car, basically. Whereas this Drager 5000 was a unit, something similar to a microwave oven, and not quite as big, but on a scale with that. I'd put it in, wait for 8 minutes, and get the result. That unit is gone now as such, and we've got this, and it's very similar. I have it here, Greg. It's very similar to an antigen test that we're all too familiar with over the last few years. Whereas basically the guard now all he has to do is you're stopped, or the driver stopped, you put the sampling pad in the driver's mouth, take the sample, put it into your little antigen test, for want of a better term.
Don't hand that to me and I'll hold it up to the camera for those that are watching it here.
Very, very similar.
Some people will see
test.
it really has that the same look. Right, so it takes the sample from inside your mouth.
Yes, yeah.
It's loaded in here, and the lines, as you say, the familiarity of those lines there, that's then an indicator.
Yes.
Now, also this has detection of more drugs than the old system as well, doesn't it?
As I say, it's portable, number one. It's faster. It still can take. It used to take 8 minutes at least. Now it takes up to 8 minutes, but it can take actually less. And plus, previously, the Drager 5000 tested for the presence of cannabis, opiates, and cocaine, whereas and benzodiazepines. Whereas now this new system we have also tests for amphetamines and methamphetamines. Excuse me, but and the important thing about the methamphetamines is that's basically ecstasy, or what's I always think is a kind of a contradiction in terms, calling it ecstasy. MMDA is the actual technical term for it.
This gives an initial reading, and then if it flags the suspected presence of any of the drugs you've mentioned, then there's a subsequent test, is there?
With cannabis and cocaine, there's actually an offence in itself for having a certain level of cannabis or cocaine in your system. That's it, a standalone offence. With the other amphetamines and the benzodiazepines, there is then an impairment test that along with it. It's not enough in itself. It indicates the presence of these drugs in your system, but for an actual offence to be committed, there has to be an allegation that you have impaired driving.
And at that point, presumably, a conversation would be had as it relates to what medication someone might be on, how regularly they take it, as it relates to what some of the drugs that unit might detect.
That's a fear people have, and a quite common question. But again, people don't have anything to fear in that sense, because if you've got prescribed medication, you're fully entitled. We all take prescribed medication at various times, and we're perfectly capable of driving. It's only when that becomes an issue that impairs your actual driving.
Because that was one of the things that were being flagged going back when these tests were being introduced. It seems to have, we've worked through that. It wasn't the major problem that people feared it might have been.
Not only that, it just hasn't been an issue at all, Greg, in fairness.
Yeah. Right, so would these units be done, like, see how we have compulsory alcohol test checkpoints, right? Are we going to have similar with these units, or would they be used selectively, or if Gardaí have suspicion, providing I'm not asking questions that interfere with operations, if you know what I mean. But how do you see these new drug test kits being used?
Well, without getting too technical from a Garda perspective, the actual mandatory alcohol testing is no longer. For the last number of years, it's mandatory intoxicant testing. Okay. So that covers both drug testing. That if you're stopped at one of these mandatory intoxicant checkpoints, you can be tested for the presence of drugs or for alcohol.
Okay, right. Now, obviously, we have to talk about the afterlife of booze and drugs. People driving the next morning as well, because people might be out into the early hours. They think they've had a snack box on the way home and have drank 2 pints of water in the morning and everything's good to go. But we know that's just not the case.
People have been prosecuted and people have been convicted in this county for driving the morning after, the so-called morning after. And that's the simple facts of the matter. So I would appeal to people to be very, very careful in that regard. And it's in unfortunate times, the people who are up early in the morning, they're going to work, and they think that probably the night before is history as far as they're concerned. But please factor in the fact that the alcohol, or indeed drugs, but it's usually actually alcohol in this context, may still be in your system. Your driving is impaired. You're creating a danger for yourself. You're creating a danger for other road users. So I'd just like to make that appeal to people, just to be very wary of that and be very careful with what they take at night vis-a-vis getting up early in the morning.
Yeah, okay, because what you might think you're okay, but this stuff is still in your system and it still will impair you, and it still is as much of a crime as whether it's 3 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah, and it's a crime for a reason, Greg, in the sense that if it impairs your ability to drive properly, well then, as I repeat, you're endangering your own life and that of other road users.
Yeah, okay. Callers contacting us, and we had a survey out during the week which showed that many of us know someone who's clearly drunk or under the influence getting behind the wheel of a car. Callers asking, what can I do about a neighbour who regularly drives on drugs? It's been reported before because there are children that live along that road. When we drive past, you can smell the weed from the car. Again, reported to the RD, mentioned that you contacted Highland Radio and that you want your concerns addressed.
Absolutely. I think it's not socially acceptable now. You know, we all know the stories about the keys in the bar counter a lifetime ago, but nowadays it's not socially acceptable to be taking drugs or drinking, and nobody should be in any way hesitant about reporting somebody like that to the Gardaí. You know, because really and truly, you're doing good for yourself, you're doing good for society, and turning a blind eye to something like that, it's just you're creating so much difficulty for so many, or potentially for so many people.
You know, as much as anyone, the devastation of losing someone, or someone suffering severe serious injuries in a road traffic collision, the impact it has. I mean, we are talking about this year alone 146 people that won't be there for Christmas dinner, and it's much more than that. It's how it affects mums and dads and brothers and sisters and children. The function of this conversation, the function of that test, the function of the checkpoints is to try and keep that number. We'd love it to be zero, wouldn't we, Seamus? But the reason we're doing this is to try and make sure as best as possible that no one goes through this, because what happens is someone makes the wrong decision tonight and they're buried on Sunday, and people wake up Monday, they had them on Wednesday and they're gone Monday, and their lives have changed forever. We just trying to avoid that happening.
That's what this is all about, and I never tire of availing for opportunities like this with yourself or with other elements in the media to get that message across. You know, far too many people have died on the roads this year and every other year, and for every one that fatality, there's multiples of that with people with serious injuries, people that can never walk and get out and about ever again. It's really cruel, not just to individuals, but cruel to families, and indeed cruel to society to let this go on and on. So we just have to keep on hammering that message home.
Now, when we were initially having this conversation, you have that shock moment and you go, right, okay, you know, maybe I should change my behaviour. Time passes and then people go, you know, I've been driving for about 10 or 15 years now and I haven't really been tested for drink or drugs once. So how do you counteract that? That, you know, people might feel out there that, yes, you've got these new tools. Yes, not drink or drug driving is the right thing to do. But when they've had a few, make a decision. I don't really see that many Garda checkpoints about. We will see an increase over Christmas, but do you get the point that I'm making? Like, do you need more resources, that there's a more visual presence, that whilst we take on board everything you say, we have to also have that real fear that we could get caught?
Well, if that preconception's out there that there aren't many Garda checkpoints, people are really mistaken. Now, I haven't got the actual figures with me. I can actually get daily figures as to the number of checkpoints there are, the number of people who actually stopped and drug swiped or tested for alcohol.
It's significant.
It is significant, and it always has been. This is a big county. There's 6,000 odd kilometres of roadway.
And they pop up and down as well.
Yeah,
they're not there for necessarily hours and hours. Maybe they are, but they pop up and down. That's the whole notion of them, isn't it?
Absolutely. There is no shortage of resources when it comes to safety in the roads. And I said, just one remind this new drug swipe tool that we have now. You literally see the size of them. They're in the glove compartment of every patrol car you see.
Yeah.
And that's where it's at, and there's going to be much more visibility.
Yeah, so it's really easy. It's effectively the same as the antigen tests for COVID. Gardaí can take a swipe, and almost immediately, but in up to 8 minutes, they can detect pretty much, all of the major drugs. A quick word on passengers, and the role that they might have to play in terms of, and we know what it can be like when you're stuck, you can't get home and you make a decision, right? But unfortunately, we have an awful lot of multi-occupancy collisions in this county as well. You know, girlfriends or boyfriends or friends with influence to say, don't do that, or don't get into the back of that vehicle, or, you know, and maybe they're not listening to this show, maybe they're at college or school or whatever, or listening to high radio, I don't know, but their mums and dads and granny and granddads are, and they can relate this information to them. I think it's a really important thing heading into Christmas, because we've heard about a shortage of taxis and all that type of stuff, and lack of public transport. So, but we have, like, I know if it's my kids, ring me. I don't care if you wake me up at 5 in the morning, ring me. But I think passengers and friends and peers have a real role to play every year, but this year, Seamus.
As a parent, believe you me, I never tire of giving that message. Do not, for any young person, for anybody, but it happens more with young people, let's be honest, do not get into a car with somebody who's under influence of drugs or drink. Do not, under any circumstances. There are taxis, there are mums and dads who are going to taxi all over. Go to the local Garda station. Go, do whatever you have to do, but do not get into a car with somebody who's driving under the influence of drugs or drink. And we had a road show out in the Ora there back in October, where there was something like 3,000 transition year, fifth year pupils there. And again, that was one of the messages we were getting across. Do not get into the car. You know, if you think somebody's on drugs or has been drinking, do not get into that car. Yeah.
And it's not just the fatalities, sorry to re-emphasise this, it's the people spending most of their remaining lives with very serious life-changing injuries, and that point's well made at those road shows as well. And just a quick word finally on pedestrians as well, because you can make a decision as well under the influence or not. You know, and you're not prepared, you don't have high vis, you don't have a light. I think anyone on the roads is seeing people on the roads that aren't properly illuminated, be they walking particularly or cycling. So we all have to share this road space, Seamus.
Make sure you work on the correct side of the road, and make sure you have some high visibility jacket of some description on you. And again, there's boxes of them in every Garda station in the county. Literally, but you know, call in, get them. The schools have them. They're out there, and actually in the supermarkets nowadays you see them too, and they are cheap. So it really appeal to people. If you're walking on the road this time of year, just make sure you have some sort of high visibility clothing on.
Okay, because you don't want to be having to deal with road traffic collisions with awful consequences. I hate waking up in the morning and to see the Garda press office email that comes through, and it's another life lost, another family devastated. We just want to keep that to zero.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, a minimum. Do you know what I mean? We'd love to achieve zero, but and it's all in our hands. I think the majority are avoidable if we make the right decisions. And that's not to attribute blame to anyone.
But these events aren't accidents; they're collisions. Yeah. You know, for the ones that are genuine accidents as such, they're very few in number. Yeah. You know, they're collisions. Somebody did something wrong. Somebody made a wrong or a poor decision, resulting in whatever. You know.
Okay, Inspector Seamus McGonigal, thanks so much for your time this morning. We really appreciate it. And as I say, it's a message the listeners have heard, but you know, maybe one person makes a different decision, and they're there for Christmas this year. We hope it's everyone, but you know what I mean. Right, back with more soon.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Suckler cow destocking recommended to Minister. For more in this week's Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
We reveal details of proposed scheme for suckler farmers to wind down or get out. Veterinary medicine and fertiliser changes hit legal roadblock. What you need to know about the new TB testing rules. Plus calls for farmers to be paid €2,500 per hectare for re-wetting.
And in Irish Country Living, don't miss your free 36-page festive food magazine inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Ireland's best-selling car, the Hyundai Tucson Diesel, is available to order for January 2023 at Divers Hyundai in Letterkenny. Yes, Divers have diesel Tucsons in stock for January collection. Order yours today or book your test drive by calling Divers on 9122 600. The Hyundai Tucson Diesel, available to order for January at Divers Hyundai, Canal Road, Letterkenny.
Looking for the perfect gift this Christmas? Why not choose a McElhenney's gift card available in-store or online? Plus, to help spread the cost of Christmas, why not join our layaway club and give someone special a Christmas gift to remember this festive season from McElhenney's. Open Sundays from 1:30 to 6 p.m.
Joe Gallagher Entertainments proudly presents, direct from the USA, The Drifters, featuring original singer Rick Shepherd. Take a trip down memory lane. Celebrate a night of nostalgia with The Drifters at the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny, Saturday 11th of February. Tickets available from hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie.
This year's Northwest Cancer Charity Ball with special guest Miriam O'Callaghan is a sellout, and the organising committee would like to thank the local community for being so supportive. Thanks to the generous donations from local businesses, there'll be an exciting raffle and a surprise Christmas shopping spree on the night. Check out the Northwest Cancer Ball's Facebook and Instagram page for more details. The committee look forward to meeting old friends and making new ones on Friday the 2nd at the Silver Tassie for a sparkling night of fun and entertainment in aid of breast cancer research.
Whatever the weather, Christmas shopping in Letterkenny will brighten your December. The Highland Weather Forecast, brought to you by Shop LK. See shoplk.ie or like us on Facebook.
All right, let's see what's happening on the weather front for this Thursday. It's the 1st of December, and I can tell you that today will be a mainly cloudy day with a few spots of light rain or drizzle, but overall, plenty of dry weather. Some bright spells too, moderate southerly breezes, highest temperatures of 9 to 12 degrees, but it is going to get a bit more chilly as we head into the weekend, and indeed even colder weather may be on its way next week, which, as I said on the show yesterday, you start thinking about the heating straight away, don't you? A caller says, I disagree with bank cards. It's your younger people who are getting caught out with the card. We're doing away with cards and it's not going to work. Okay. I'm not sure if you're in favour or not. Just... You mean in terms of getting rid of the card and using the tapping? Is that what you mean? ACERT or ACART welcomes the new testing device. Hopefully this will assist the Gardaí in saving precious lives on our roads. That comes in from Mary. Garda can have all the tools for the detection for drug and drink driving, but until law is enforced equally in this country with no favours or exceptions, the scourge of drunk and drug driving will never be eliminated from Donegal. And they list a couple of examples. The reality is unfortunately, if you look at the statistics, a quarter, isn't it, 25% of people done who have had their licenses suspended still continue to drive. It's not any individual group of people. Unfortunately, the road traffic laws need looking at. They need to be thrown out and redone because there are so many loopholes that people seem to be able to exploit. 17 years of regular driving day and night. I've been tested for alcohol twice. Not enough checkpoints on the road, believes that caller. But you heard Seamus McGonigal there, the inspector, say that's simply not the case. It's just you don't happen upon them. Hi, Greg. Could you please ask the Garda if taking prescribed painkillers which contain codeine are lawful if you are driving, or sorry, if they're outlawed? They're not. That point was made. I hope you got the answer in that question I asked of him. Zoomed up cars, which creates noise pollution. Midnight to 4 a.m. every weekend in towns throughout the country or the county has become a serious issue, causing sleep deprivation. Have the free flow of the roads and nothing is happening to stop this. How do these cars pass the NCT? Because they aren't zooped up when they go into the end for the NCT. All right, back after the news and obituary notices with more.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Do you need to switch your Ulster Bank loan or overdraft? We are now offering competitive low-rate switcher loans and MyCU current account with overdraft.
Wetsuit on and underwater by 8.
Aprons on, breakfast orders in, conversation flowing, loving every second.
Every day is different. There's always new faces. It really suits me.
It fits my schedule. I can see friends, do my yoga, balance work with life and enjoy both.
My career in tourism works for me.
And mine works for me.
Get a career in tourism that works for you. Visit tourismcareers.ie.
Show your appreciation for Donegal business this Christmas with Buy Donegal. Visit buydonegal.com to see a host of participating businesses to start your shopping list. With a range of special offers and prize giveaways throughout, Buy Donegal has something for everyone. Buy Donegal takes place from November 11th to December 24th. For more, visit buydonegal.com.
At Ulster Bank, we have now begun to close current and deposit accounts.
At this time, if your notice period and your deadline has passed, your account is now queued for closure. You must take action now. If you are still relying on your personal or business bank account and in need of support, please contact us immediately. Visit ulsterbank.ie, your local branch, or call 0818 210 260. Call costs may vary and calls from mobiles may not be free. Ulster Bank Ireland DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Hello, Farmer Tinney here. Tinney's Toys are now open 7 days a week. New stock arriving weekly. Our Christmas Club is now open. Check out our entire range online at tinnystoys.com, where we offer free shipping on orders over €75. Buy now, pay later with Klarna. No extra charges. Tinney's Toys, Ireland's largest farm toy superstore. Down by.
Crisp mornings, crunchy leaves, cosy jumpers. Wintertime can be magical, but it's also the time of year when we're most at risk of catching the flu. At your local pharmacy, children aged 2 to 17 can now get vaccinated for free with just a simple nasal spray. Don't let the flu stop you from enjoying your time together. Get your whole family vaccinated against the flu today. Your local community pharmacy, always here for you. Brought to you by the Irish Pharmacy Union.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. I'm Emma Ryan. A Letterkenny councillor has welcomed plans for a major town centre development as a game changer for the town. Plans have been submitted for the construction of 6-storey and 4-storey buildings that will include 154 student bedrooms and 13 apartments at a site close to the station roundabout. The plans include the demolition of Glenini House and the construction of a series of other retail units. The development is currently at the early stage with planning permission lodged to Donegal County Council. Councillor Donald Coyle says the development, if allowed, will bring a massive boost to the town and completely change the landscape.
It's positive to see a large-scale mixed-use development come forward in the town at this stage, especially where the situation is down there at Glenini House, because it's otherwise, that area there, the Glenini House, and has been vacant for quite some time. And it's also a brownfield site, and, it shows a confidence in the private sector, which is to be welcomed.
The HSE is facing mounting pressure to deliver a centre of excellence for people with diabetes in Donegal. The chair of the Regional Health Forum West says with the large number of people with type 1 diabetes in the county, it warrants an enhancement of treatment services at Letterkenny University Hospital. It's been confirmed that the recruitment of 2 permanent consultants for the hospital is underway. Councillor Jerry McMonigal has committed to keep the pressure on until a centre of excellence is established.
We've had difficulties with the right number of consultants, podiatrists, dietitians, and it's been a battle every day for those campaigning. But I think what would put an end to all that is that we'll finally address the deficits in it and locate the centre of excellence here at Letterkenny University Hospital. Look, it's something I'll keep working with the diabetes group here in the county and keep raising it at the Regional Health Forum until we get an acceptable level of healthcare for those suffering with diabetes.
The government is being urged to ensure Duncanely healthcare services are restored. The Donegal Deputy Thomas Pringle has told the Dáil that people are extremely worried about the future of the centre and the future of their town. He says he is awaiting a response from the HSE on the matter. Deputy Pringle told Taoiseach Micheál Martin that this is just the latest in a long list of service withdrawals from the area.
Duncanely has seen the closure after closure in recent years, such as the post office and the Garda station, so the town is understandably anxious about the sudden closure of yet another service. Patients have nowhere to go as doctors in the surrounding practices of Killybegs, Mount Charles and Donegal Town have been unable to take new patients for a while now due to high demand and lack of GP services in Donegal, South Donegal. So Taoiseach, what will your government do to make sure that these services are restored and available?
Deputy Pringle, I engage with the HSE in respect of the
A cross-directorate working group needs to be established by Donegal County Council to examine the possibility of re-establishing a rail network in Donegal. The issue's been raised this week by Councillor Niamh Kennedy, who says there is a huge potential for movement in the context of the current emphasis on cross-border and shared island initiatives. She told members that all departments in the council, together with lobby groups such as Into the West, have a role to play in ensuring that the current renewed interest in rail is maximised.
Obviously we've got our roads and transportation, and it's very, very important to us, and we do visit the TIA on a regular basis. But this is a bigger thing again. This is where we do need the environment section to come in along with us, the tourism section, economic development, bring everybody in together and put our heads together and really focus on this.
And finally, a new law designed to protect tips received by workers will come into effect today. The Payment of Wages Act 2022 will see employees given legal rights over the payment of tips. The legislation will force employers to display their policy on mandatory charges and the distribution of cash and card tips. Adrian Cummins, Chief Executive of Restaurants Association of Ireland, says staff will be taxed for tips if paid electronically.
We welcome the new legislation for tips, like gratuities and service charge. Gives more clarity for staff and for customers when they're dining out across the country. Something that we have been advocating for as an organisation. But we will be saying to the government that there is an unintended consequence around this, which is the taxation element.
Today will be mainly cloudy with a few spots of light rain or drizzle, but overall plenty of dry weather. Some bright spells too, highest temperatures of 9 to 12 degrees. That's all for now. We'll have a news update again at 11 o'clock, but until then, good morning. Obituary notices for Thursday morning, December 1st. The death has occurred of Anne Coggins, Nee McGarvey, Ards, Creasla, and formerly of Ballinlaw, Roscommon. Her remains will be received into the Catholic Church of Mary Immaculate and St Gregory the Great, Union Street, Barnet, this evening at 7 p.m. for prayers. Her funeral will take place in St Michael's Church, Creasla, County Donegal, on Saturday at 1 p.m, followed by burial in Doe Cemetery. Mass can be viewed live on mcnmedia.tv. Family flyers only, donations in lieu to the Creasla Disaster Fund and the North London Hospice, care of any family member or James Harkin Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Robin Law, Marble Hill, Dunfanaghy. Wake at his residence tomorrow from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Family and friends welcome. Funeral service in the Holy Trinity Church, Hornhead Road, Dunfanaghy on Saturday at 11 a.m, followed by private cremation. The death has taken place of Ellen McLaughlin, Eddie, Seaview Terrace, Glen Gad, Malin. Ellen's funeral mass will take place on Saturday at 11 a.m. in St Mary's Church, Lag, Malin, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Family time please from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. Family only on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place of Tom Riley, Hillview, Les Monaghan, Letterkenny. Remains will repose at the residence of his daughter, Julie and Arthur McMahon, Tirhammon, Milford, tomorrow from 4 p.m. House private. Funeral mass on Saturday at 11 a.m. in St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny. Burial afterwards in New Lake Cemetery. Funeral mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family flyers only. The death has occurred of Jerry O'Donnell, 2 Lark Hill, Steelstown, Derry, and formerly Clonmel, County Tipperary, and East Barnet, London, reposing at his home today from 5 p.m. Family time please from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. Removal from his home on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. to Our Lady of Lourdes Church, Inch Island, for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Family flyers only please. Jerry's funeral and Requiem Mass will be recorded and can be viewed on Inishowen Funeral Services Facebook page later in the evening. The death has occurred of Mary Doherty, Nee Duggan, Dara Sclee, Glen, and formerly of Cloncarney, Trenta. Removal strictly for immediate family only please. Remains reposing at her family home. Funeral from there on Saturday morning for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m. in St Columba's Church, Termon, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time please from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. Family flowers only, donations if desired to Donegal Hospice. The death has occurred of Anne Boyle, Nee Early, 122, Ard Patrick, Glenties. Aaron's remains are reposing at her son Michael's residence at 122 Ard Patrick, Glenties. Removal from there tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 p.m. to St Connell's Church, Glenties, for Requiem Mass at 2 p.m. with burial afterwards in the local cemetery. Family time from 10 p.m. until 11 a.m. and family time until 12 noon on the morning of the funeral. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. The death has occurred of Thomas McBurty, Momeen, St Johnson. Thomas is reposing at his late residence. Funeral leaving his late residence tomorrow morning at 10:15 a.m. going to St Columba's Church, Dermuchal for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time please from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. Family flyers only please, donations in lieu if desired to the Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or Kelly's funeral directors. The death has occurred of Desmond Holland, Desi Wilson, 9 Caw Park, Lamavati Road. Service of Thanksgiving in his late home tomorrow afternoon at 12:30 p.m, followed by burial in Ballyowen Cemetery. Family flowers only, donations in lieu if desired to the Foyle branch of Parkinson's, care of Mrs Ruth Hay, funeral director. Family time please from 10 p.m. till 11 a.m. The death has occurred of Shan McMonigal, Mina Tinney, Fintown. His remains are reposing at his home. Removal from his home this evening at 6:15 p.m, going to St Columb Kills Chapel, Fintown, to arrive at 7 p.m. for reception prayers and to repose overnight. Requiem Mass at 11 a.m. tomorrow morning with burial afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. Rosary at 9 p.m. with family time from then after the Rosary until 11 a.m. The funeral mass can be viewed live on Chac Pobl Nuefa, Ballinafinia Facebook page. The death has occurred of Mary May Keane, Nee O'Donnell, Chapel Road, Convoy. Funeral Mass at 1 p.m. this afternoon, followed by burial in St Mary's Old Cemetery. The death has occurred of John Devine, 3A, St Eunan's Terrace, Rafoe, Farmley, Moss Big, Ballandrate. Funeral from Kelly's Funeral Home, Oakfield, Rafoe this morning at 10:30 a.m, going to St Patrick's Church, Murlog for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Mass can be viewed on clonleyparish.com. And the death has taken place of Patrick H. Doherty, Church Road, Carndonagh. Remains are reposing at his family home. Removal from there tomorrow morning at 10:15 a.m. for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass in the Church of the Sacred Heart, Carndonagh, and burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. Family flyers only, donations if desired to Medical 4 Letterkenny Hospital. Mass can be viewed live on churchmedia.tv. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Millionaire Raffle from the National Lottery is back. With 1 millionaire guaranteed and over €5.2 million in cash prizes to be won, it's the biggest ever. The draw's on New Year's Eve and tickets are limited. Have you got yours? The National Lottery. It could be you. Gift responsibly.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Okay, we're all very excited because tomorrow we are going to give away €3,000. We've got €1,000 to give away on this programme at around about 11:30. Another €1,000 will be given away at around 1:30 on Around the Northwest, and on Jive Time at 3:30 in the afternoon, another €1,000 will be given away. So how do you get involved in your chance to win that money? Well, you enter our mega card draw. We are also giving away at the end of this month, just before Christmas, a €30,000 fabulous black Nissan Duke. And If you want to buy a ticket for that, you go onto our website, you click the link, you'll see the car there, you click in and you buy your tickets. They are €10 for one ticket, 6 for 50, 10 for 80. So the more you buy, if you're buying them for presents for Christmas, the cheaper they become. Me, I'd hold one or two back for myself and give the rest away. And we've had quite a mixture, actually, of people that bought multiple tickets. Some of them, it was their winning ticket that came out, and for others, it was a family member. So it's all very exciting when it comes around to draw time. But if you want to be in with a chance to win the three €1,000, you have to buy your ticket today or before tomorrow morning. So if you intended to buy a ticket for the mega car draw, and I've said this before, the odds on this type of draw for us here in the Northwest, because we broadcast into a specific part of the world, you'll see draws on Facebook and elsewhere. Hundreds of thousands of people enter those. It's not the case here. So anyone entering, decent chance. I'm not overstating it, by the way, but you know what I mean? It's just us, really. So you've got 3 chances to win €1,000 tomorrow, and then the one big chance to win that €30,000 Nissan Duke, brand new car for you next year. But to be in with a chance of all 4 draws, you have to get your tickets ready today before early tomorrow. Go to our website, highlandradio.com, click the link to buy a car. You can just get one ticket. One ticket could be as lucky as 5, but yourself, whatever, buy more tickets, whatever you want to do. Give them as gifts. But obviously for fun and within your means and for presents and to treat yourself. So you answer a simple question and then you put in your details and print your tickets, or you have your digital tickets. But if you want to call into us here as well, maybe you don't want to use the internet to buy your tickets, get into us today to be in all 4 draws by calling us 07491 25,000. We can process that for you over the phone, and it's the exact same. Your tickets can be individually named for presents. And if you don't use cards and you want to use cash, you can also call up to us here at the Mountaintop in Letterkenny, and we'll sort you out. So everyone is as included as is possible. But as I say, if you want to be in all 4 draws, you do have to get your ticket today. Website highlandradio.com is the secure and easy way for you to get your ticket. Right, okay. Maybe someone's going to be entering that draw having won the big bingo jackpot. Here are the numbers.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 1st of December, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €12,600 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S19. It's game number 48. The jackpot number is 74. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 52, 33, 24, 58, 18, 19, 61, 39, 3, and finally 57. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
If I learned one thing in the last year, it's that falling into debt can happen to anyone. Luckily, I heard about the ISI, the Insolvency Service of Ireland. Their professional advisors can help you restructure or even write off your debt. The first thing they said to me was, every debt problem has a solution. I can still feel the relief. So if you're worried, visit their website backontrack.ie or free text Get Help to 50015.
The ISI. Together, we'll get you back on track. This is an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Suckler cow destocking recommended to Minister. For more in this week's Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
We reveal details of proposed scheme for suckler farmers to wind down or get out. Veterinary medicine and fertiliser changes hit legal roadblock. What you need to know about the new TB testing rules. Plus calls for farmers to be paid €2,500 per hectare for re-wetting.
And in Irish Country Living, don't miss your free 36-page festive food magazine. inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
House to Home Interiors, Bridgend, Donegal. Our new recliner suites are now in stock. Get your order in today in time for Christmas delivery, starting from only $1499. Also see our new range of slide robes and our flooring section, including carpets, wooden floors and dining floors. All this and much more at House to Home Interiors, Bridgend, Donegal.
Are you ready to grow your career? At AXA, our branch network is growing and we're recruiting new team members. Based in the local community, you'll receive all the support you need to develop a rewarding career as an insurance professional. Competitive salary and full training provided. Apply today. Visit axa.ie/careers.
Joe Gallagher Entertainments proudly presents, direct from the USA, The Drifters, featuring original singer Rick Shepherd. Take a trip down memory lane. Celebrate a night of nostalgia with The Drifters at the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny, Saturday 11th of February. Tickets available from hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie.
Okie dokie, welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio, this 1st of December 2022. We welcome into studio now Marty Friel for a chat. Marty, good morning to you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Morning, Greg. Thanks
Good
for
to
having me
have
on.
you with us. Right, now you are aged 42, and the reason I'm mentioning that, I normally try and avoid it, is because you were diagnosed with ADHD just 2 years ago at the age of 40. Why did you decide to go and get tested, Marty?
Well, I've struggled throughout my life with school, with work, with relationships. So I always suspected there was something up there. Then my son was diagnosed in 2013, 2014. So I seen the documentation that came with that. So I suspected. So after reading that, I was like, okay, that kind of describes me. So it was always in the back of my mind to get tested. So then in 2020, summer 2020, a friend of mine posted an infographic on Facebook. It's called the ADHD Iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at that, and it was like pretty much.
Can I have a wee look at that? Just
Yeah.
'cause it's, yeah.
So I had a look at that, and I was like, right, I ticked nearly all of those boxes. I think it's time for me to go and get tested. So I think within a month or two, I had got the test and got diagnosed as having ADHD.
When you say that you, I don't want to misquote you, but you knew there was something wrong with you,
Yeah.
right? Did you think it was just you, your personality, that you were not a bad person, or that you just were not a fully functioning person? Like, did you think there was something diagnosable wrong with you, or did you just sort of have a bad opinion of yourself?
I've had a very bad opinion of myself.
Yeah.
I carried a lot of guilt and shame around for years, but I did think that it was just hereditary, and that's, yeah, I just thought it was hereditary.
Because it's not unfamiliar, and hopefully now conversations like this and elsewhere are unlocking some things for some people. But, your school years would not have been the most enjoyable, I'd imagine.
No, not at all. Yeah, I was. If you had a look at my reports from national school and secondary school, it would jump out at you that I was a typical person with ADHD.
Would you have been viewed just as a disruptive bad child back then, I wonder?
Disruptive, but has ability. Like I have some of the comments here
from when you were at school.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
I can read some of them.
Please,
out. Some of the most striking ones. So Martin has ability and usually does his work quite well. He can, however, be disruptive in class, constantly talking, drawing, distracting others, and does not take correction well. Martin has great abilities all round, but he is also very restless and rushes his work and can be very bad-tempered. So that makes me chuckle, that last bit of that one. And then this one, Martin can work well, but at times he's very lazy. He has lots of ability if he would apply himself. So people with ADHD frequently get labelled with being lazy when it's not that at all. It's motivation. It's getting started, activated. So once I get started, I'm a brilliant worker.
Because they could clearly see your abilities. It was just how you applied them, or your ability to apply them then.
Yeah.
Okay.
and having strategies to apply to bring out those abilities as
Yeah,
well.
and did you complete school? You were asked to leave at 15. Did you leave at 15?
I did leave at 15, yeah. I just went into work then. I was offered, my parents asked me, did I want to go to another school, and I said no, which I think was a mistake, but look, that's no point dwelling on that. Yeah, I just went into work then, worked for a number of years, then always wanted to go back to school, so I went back to school. I went to college then as a mature student.
Yeah.
When I was 24. Struggled then in college. Dropped out in third year, but then I went back the next year, did well that year, and then struggled again fourth year.
And what was changing from one year to the next, do you think, Marty?
So like relationship breakdowns, just drinking too much.
So it was whatever else. It wasn't it wasn't the actual school experience. It was the stuff that was going on around you that was affecting that. So when you were in a good place, it was going grand. But then when you were distracted by alcohol or when you had issues with relationships, then that's when things started to unravel a bit in the education process.
Yeah. Yes, that's it. Plus, I would have digestive issues that I would have caused a lot of issues as well, but a lot of that came from stress because, like, a big part of one of the major symptoms that I would have is emotional regulation, and so I wouldn't have been able to manage stress very well.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize that, and it's only in the last 2 years that I've really learned how to manage the condition.
And has that improved your digestion issues as well?
Oh, it has, yes.
It's amazing how the mind and the body are connected.
Yeah,
so, isn't it?
It's amazing. Like I still have to manage the digestive issues, but stress was a major part of that. But
so, like, I've spoke to a few people with late diagnosis here, and everyone handles it differently. There's a bit of frustration of what was lost or what could have been. There can be some anger, frustration, bitterness. You know, obviously some of it's our own fault, but then if certain decisions had been made at certain times, things could have been very different for you. Is that something you have to work through after a diagnosis, particularly later in life?
For me, when I got the diagnosis, it was a massive weight off my shoulders because, as I mentioned, I carried a lot of guilt and shame around for years because of everything that had happened to me, thinking that it was my fault. I realised that most of it wasn't my fault. It was the condition and not knowing how to manage the condition. I wouldn't say it was bitter. Of course, I would have liked to have known much sooner, but I do realise that ADHD wasn't even on the radar in the 80s and 90s, so I don't blame anyone. I wouldn't say I'm bitter. I'm just glad that I've got the diagnosis now because it's been a game changer for me.
And in the last 2 years, now that you know it's ADHD, how do you use that information to improve things, if you know what I mean? Is it how you deal with people in different situations? Like, because sometimes people might get that diagnosis and go, well, what do I do now? And it could make things worse. I don't know. But for you, it's obviously meant a big improvement for you. So how did things change over the last 2 years that it's left you in a much better place now?
So I basically went on a deep learning curve. I started reading, I started attending webinars, I attended support groups, I joined Facebook support groups. What else did I do? I went and learned as much as possible about it as I could. So I learned what I need to do to manage this.
And what kind of give us some examples, or does it vary from person to person? Like, what have you made? What changes have you made over the last 2 years that's improved your life?
So for me, as I mentioned, emotional regulation was probably my biggest issue.
Does that mean switching between moods or feeling highs and
mood
lows?
swings, reactivity, irritableness, short temper. Though I think the biggest factor in me now managing my emotions has been meditation. So I meditate. I do the being technique, it's called. I learned it with Susan Quirk. She's an Irish lady. So that's been massively powerful for me. So now I'm calm. It's also helped me with my stress. I'm now able to manage the stress because of it.
Brilliant.
So.
And then, of course, that has a knock-on positive impact on your physical well-being as well, as we discussed.
Of course, yeah, it affects my digestive system. My digestive system works better.
Yeah.
My relationships are much better. I'm much calmer. The irritableness is not there. I don't get stressed at work anymore. I'm a calm person now.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can breathe. Your shoulders have dropped.
That's it.
Because you probably walked around for 40 years with your shoulders up around your ears.
That's it.
Clenching your fists and all that kind of stuff.
That's
now you can just chill and relax, which is
Yeah.
nice. Also, too, is it encouraging that you are tooled and equipped now to give your son, who you've mentioned already, the best opportunities, so you can guide him? You can, as you say, generally in society, there's a bit more understanding and what have you now, but it must be nice to know now that you can maybe help to guide him through life, the same guidance you didn't have necessarily.
Oh yeah, totally. That is the plan, to help him. I think I kind of need to wait for him to be at the stage where he wants the help. He's not. I don't think he's ready for that yet. But definitely want to help him, and I would like to help other people as well. The main reason I'm on here today.
Yeah, and we'll get to that now. You had to go private to get your diagnosis. It was over €300. Do you think that's the way it should be? Or are you happy at least that service was there and you were able to get the money together? Or what's your views on the path you had to go to get your diagnosis?
Well, obviously I don't think it's the way it should be. But I'm glad that it was there, because I was able to go and do it immediately and get my diagnosis as soon as I decided that I wanted to do that. Now it cost me €350, but I think it was well worth it, because when I did that, there was no HSE adult ADHD program in place.
Mm-hmm.
But it just was rolled out in January 2021, a few months after I got diagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
But in saying that, I got a referral for that, and I'm still waiting to get seen by that, so you can see the difference.
Yeah, we're heading to 2023 now, I agree.
Yeah, so it was a year and a half ago.
How quickly is that process? I mean, how quickly does the psychologist go, right, okay, this has all the hallmarks of ADHD, or?
So she took me down and did the test, so you go in and talk about my life and why I feel like I need to get it done. And we initially had a phone call, but then scheduled the appointment. I had the appointment within a week. So it was during COVID, so that may have helped me get it a little bit quicker. But am I allowed to say the psychologist?
Of course you are, yeah.
So it was Dr. Anne Prosser. She's down outside Donegal town, so I travelled down there. As I say, we started off by having a talk about why I felt I needed to get the test. Then she started off with an IQ test. Then she did 3 different sets of ADHD tests. And you need to meet a certain threshold on all the criteria in the test to pass to be diagnosed with ADHD. So it was, I think it wasn't more than 2 hours that I was with her.
Excellent. Okay, so it was a relatively straightforward process, and as you say, €350. But for what it's given you, that seems like quite a small investment. An investment you may not have had to make if the public system was as it should be. But anyway, then when you're told you had ADHD, I presume it's different for everyone. But you've already mentioned work. I'm not sure if you're self-employed or you work for someone else. So, is there a playbook as to who you should tell, if that makes sense, or is it just your own business and you get on with it and make adjustments in your life, or what? Or
well, I've recently changed jobs, so I didn't mention it in the interview process. Some people do, some people don't. I only just yesterday mentioned to my whole team about the ADHD, so that's the first time they knew. I did mention to my line manager a few weeks back. So, yeah, I think think it just depends on the situation, how
Exactly,
comfortable
yeah.
you feel with the
Yeah,
person or people. Yeah.
And
so
the motivation for my question was that, you know, like, if we went into a workspace with an obvious physical ailment, okay, you know what I mean, we'd be taken on, and if an adaptation was needed, it would be done. I just wonder, and it depends on the individual as well, but do you think, like, a line, we'll not talk about your job now, we'll move to more general, a line manager or a manager, you know, I just wonder if people felt they would need to say they've got ADHD, so maybe there's an understanding if that's required. And you would just hope it wouldn't be held against someone, if that makes sense. Like, because we're trying to be able to speak more freely about these things. I wonder as sort of that workspace caught up a little bit.
I would imagine it has, because I got in my previous role. Well, as I said, I've only just mentioned in my current role, so I don't know what the long-term reaction or support is going to be there. But in my previous role, like, I got a lot of support.
Brilliant, good.
When I told people, a lot of support from my department head, from HR director.
Great, okay.
Yeah, there was a great.
So we are
reaction there.
making strides in that regard. Obviously, that's not going to be everyone's experience, but it's yours, and that's what we'll go by. Right. So you talked about you joined some Facebook groups and what have you, and I presume that was helpful. But do you believe there is need for more support for adults, particularly in your space? Is there anything out there? Are you looking to establish it? Are you what do you want to come from today's conversation, Marty?
Yeah, like there is national Facebook groups that I joined, but I just feel that it would be better to have maybe a local group where you can meet in person if you want, because it's great. Zoom calls are great, or phone calls or messaging are okay as well, but it's nothing beats the power of in-person
For sure, yeah.
communication, you know. So I thought maybe, and also provide a safe space for people with ADHD to discuss their experiences without fear of judgment, and also to learn from other people with ADHD.
Yeah, I think
as
you
well.
feel that you've got little things that that others might benefit from, and you're very open to hear from them. And I think also too, there's going to be a group of people that there's going to be individuals as well that maybe it didn't fall into place quite like it might have for you. You know, as you look back on your school years or your adult life or what have you, you seem to have, you know, got a good handle on that. For others, they might need a conversation with someone like yourself so they can maybe get into that space as well, because we are all individuals, really. Yeah, a caller says, and we'll talk about how we'll get around to maybe doing that. A caller says, hi, and if you don't want to answer any of these questions, that's fine. There's nothing particularly personal. Hi, Greg. How did Martin explain to his family about his condition? Because I have 2 children with it. A few of my family came forward to say it's a made-up condition. It's very disheartening and makes me angry. Instead of family support, it seems to be dismissed as not a real condition. Even one family member told me ADHD was caused by a child, and they imagined it. I've stepped back from them as I find their views unhelpful. Unfortunately, there is deniers of that still would say these are bold children, this is bad parenting, this is nature, not nurture, right? I don't know how much air we want to give that. We'll just accept that that's not the case, because this is, we have moved to a point now where this is clinically provable. We speak to people like yourself and we understand it, but there are naysayers out there.
No, of course.
So how do you have that conversation with family? Personally, for me, if that's how my family treated me when I would need their support, you know, I'm not saying I would never speak to them again, but I would happily take a step back. But that's not going to suit everybody.
Yeah. Well, what I did was the report that I got, Anne Prosser sent out a psychological assessment after. So I basically messaged them and sent them on the report. Or for my parents, I printed it out because they're not technologically savvy. So yeah, basically gave them the reports, let them read it, and then discussed it with them after.
That's quite interesting. I wonder, has our listener tried that? You know, the actual report, furnish your family members with them, have a read of that, and then have the conversation.
Yeah, so that's what I did. All my family members were supportive. It is something that I wanted to discuss. Is when you're telling people, you can have reactions that you don't expect. And to me, that's a few times it was quite hurtful, the reactions that I got. There was some very dismissive, and then people playing it down, saying, "Oh, sure, we all have a little bit of that in us." So they're minimising your suffering by dismissing it, and it can be hurtful. Yes,
but there is a it can be wheeled out as well sometimes by people as well. So I think it's like the boy who cried wolf. A lot of people can use it as an excuse for behaviour. It's like certain words like bullying. I think they should be used appropriately at the right time. You know what I mean? I think ADHD. Really start talking about it when you get a diagnosis of it, because bandying it around I don't think helps either. I don't think anyone's doing that willfully or whatever, but I've tried to give the example of bullying. People use words as sort of a catch-all for something, and I don't think that's helpful.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Exactly.
Right, so in terms of establishing a adult support group, we're at the embryonic stages here. You're here. You're happy to get involved with it.
Yeah.
You're looking for maybe one or two other like-minded individuals, get a small thing going, get the word out there and see from where it would come. And presumably there's maybe national organisations you can sort of tag into when the time is right. Is that where we're at?
That's exactly it. Yeah, I'm thinking about setting up a local Facebook group. ADHD Donegal or Letterkenny, adult ADHD.
Go Donegal, will you?
Yeah,
please don't. Because there's so many of us outside of
that's
Letterkenny.
true. Yeah.
Please just go Donegal. Yeah.
And then there's the ADHD Ireland organisation. So they, I could, as you say, link in with them as well.
Brilliant. Okay, so really the call today then, Marty, and I think people, you've given people a great insight into your journey, is that phrase that we often use now, but it kind of really is the one that encapsulates it. They know the type of person you are, they know what you want to do, shared experiences, support, maybe even if a bit of campaigning is required, who's to say that might not be on the horizon, but you want a couple of like-minded people, or as many that are listening, to reach out, make contact and see where it goes from there.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, what's the best way to get in contact? We have a number for you here.
Yeah.
Do you want us to retain that? And if anyone rings and wants to have a chat with you, you're happy for us to pass it on?
Yeah. If they want a message, if they want to call, it's up to them, whatever they're comfortable with. Yep.
All right, brilliant stuff. Well done, Martin. Definitely would be interested in connecting with other ADHD adults locally. There's a lot of processing and healing that late diagnosis people need to get through, and I kind of sort of was referencing that as I say, I've spoken to a few people and understand that. So whatever. Let's see where it goes. Yeah. So get in contact with us. We'll pass your details on to Marty, and you could be at the start of something that could turn out to be quite significant. Help yourself, help others, and we'll see where it goes. Anything you want to add, Martin, before we wrap it up?
I would just say knowledge is power. If you suspect you have a condition, not just ADHD, go get tested for it. If it turns out to be a yes, brilliant. You can go and learn about it and learn how to manage the condition. If it's a no, then you can move on to another condition and get tested for that.
I mean, that diagnosis has changed your life. There's no doubt about
massively,
that. Emotionally, mentally, physically, you're in a completely more positive space now.
100%, yeah.
All right, brilliant. Okay, I'm delighted to hear that. Martin, thanks so much for calling in.
No problem.
I really appreciate it. That's Marty Friel there. That's his story of a diagnosis of ADHD at the age of 40, now 42, looking to establish an adult support group or a networking group of people in a similar position to help each other and maybe help others who might come forward. Once you hear a story like Marty's, it does encourage other people to say, well, that sounds very much like me. So in a way, Martin, you are impacting on other people in a really positive way too, which I think needs to be recognised. Right, we'll be back with more. As I say, if you want Marty's details, contact us. We'll pass them on with his permission. We'll be back with more after we take this break.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
Highland Radio have done it again! Buy a ticket to win a car valued at €30,000 before Friday, December the 2nd, and you Who, me? Yes, you will have 3 chances to win €1,000. These draws before the big draw will take place at 11:30, 1:30 and 3:30 on Friday, December the 2nd, live on Highland Radio. Yes, it's that simple. Get your Christmas off to a flyer. Go to highlandradio.com, click on the car link, purchase a ticket, answer a simple question, and we could be ringing you and helping make this Christmas stupendous.
Get back on the road. With the ongoing war in Ukraine affecting the cost of energy, many of us are facing a challenging winter. Through Budget 23, government is introducing a range of supports to lessen the financial impact on families, households and businesses, and will continue to monitor the situation in the coming months to protect those in difficulty. It's important that everyone stays warm and well, but where safe and possible to do so, reducing energy use can also reduce bills. Changes like turning your thermostat down by 1 degree and considering how often you use energy-intensive appliances like tumble dryers can make a big difference. For information on available supports and energy-saving advice, visit gov.ie/reduce your use. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark-approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
Hello there. Golly gosh, it's almost Christmas and we want to help you here at Harvey's Point make it extra special. And what better way than with a Harvey's Point gift card, available to order direct from the hotel 074 97 22208 or online at harveyspoint.com. It's the gift that keeps on giving all year round. A Harvey's Point gift card.
Highland Radio are on the road in 2023. Join us for our trip to Dublin on Thursday the 23rd of February to see the 25th anniversary show of Michael Flatley's Lord of the Dance. This show has amazed audiences across the globe with its fusion of high energy, Irish dancing, original music and storytelling. Sit back and relax as we take care of everything.
Your trip includes luxury transfers to and from Dublin, staying at the 4-star Clayton Hotel in Dublin, including breakfast and your ticket to the show. Call us today on 074 9125,000 for more information.
The winds have changed for Bord na Móna, and commitment to green energy has become our home turf. It started with Ireland's first onshore wind farm at our Bellacorrick site in County Mayo, and we didn't stop there. Now we're delivering renewable energy including solar, wind, battery and biomass. Surprised? Well, now you know. We're more than Mona. For more on our climate solutions, visit bordnamona.ie.
Thinking of changing your flooring for Christmas? Why not see what Floor at Letterkenny have to offer, including a large selection of solid, semi-solid, laminate and click vinyl wood flooring, together with a fantastic choice of parquet herringbone flooring, all fitted and tailored to your needs. So don't delay, visit florit.ie today.
Fill your table full of luxury this Christmas at Lidl. Break out our deluxe smoked salmon, just $3.99. Try our alcohol-infused deluxe Irish Christmas puddings, only $6.99. Ooh, and get fine wines from $7.99 from your drinks retailer of the year. Do Christmas without compromise at Lidl. More for everyone this Christmas. Always drink responsibly.
Swing into Christmas with the Rat Pack, live at the Griannan Theatre, Letterkenny, December 14th. Direct from London's Leicester Square, and for one night only, enjoy classics from Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin. Tickets from Anne Griannan Theatre box office and angriannan.com. Presented by Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
At Shane Connolly Car Sales, Donegal Town, our cars come fully serviced, which is all included in the price along with AA roadside assistance. Trade-ins are accepted and we offer great finance options. Did we mention the excellent customer service we offer, which is one of the reasons customers keep returning to us? Check out our social platforms or visit ShaneConnollyCars.com today.
Whatever the weather this December, Letterkenny will bring a warm front to your shopping and great value for your pocket. Highland Weather Forecast, brought to you by Shop LK.
Okie doke, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. Let's have a look at the weather forecast for you, and I can tell you that today will be a mainly cloudy day with a few spots of light rain or drizzle, but overall plenty of dry weather, some bright spells too, moderate southerly breezes, highest temperatures of 9 to 12 degrees. Right, okay. A local councillor has said that too much emphasis is being put on housing Ukrainian visitors while local people are lying in doorways under bridges. Do you think that's a responsible connection to make, Michael, Councillor Michael McClafferty, really, as an elected representative with everything that's going on in the country? Do you think that's a responsible sort of connection to make?
Well, Greg, it's the reality of what's going on. It is the reality of what's going on. If people view it as not responsible, they're entitled to their opinion. I'm just saying what's going on, Greg. This is the reality. Our people are lying out there and they're not getting seen to. It's not nitpicking on others as such, but all I'm asking for is a level playing field right across the board.
Well, it is nitpicking at others, because you could have highlighted the issue of homelessness and people lying in doorways or under bridges without referencing the housing of Ukrainians. So it is nitpicking at others. It was you that chose to introduce another group of people to make your point.
Yeah, well, Greg, I suppose, yes, I did, all right. But the reality is that is what is happening. Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate that the Ukrainians are here through no fault of their own as such. But it's also unfortunate, Greg, that our government is choosing as well. They're nitpicking as well who to house and who not to house.
So do you think
that?
Do you think that that's what's happening? Do you think that if there were no Ukrainians in this country, you believe the government would be ensuring that there is no homelessness in the indigenous population, let's put it like that, and there would be no one lying in doorways or under bridges?
Going past history, Greg, it was still probably be in a housing situation.
So this is about will. This is the will of the government, isn't it? It's what the reality is here is it's the same as giving emergency housing to people affected by defective concrete blocks. It's not that the Ukrainians are being chosen over Irish people, let me put it like that. It's the fact that the government is choosing to respond to this crisis in Ukraine, but it's choosing not to respond to people who are lying in doorways and under bridges or those affected by defective concrete. So this is about a choice. It's not resources going to Ukrainians and not going to the Irish. It is the government not choosing to look after the various groups of people.
Well, that's exactly what's happening. It is their choice. Like it's a government's choice there the last day. For example, now you have Donegal here. If you're lucky enough to get onto the house and social list, if you earn more than 30,000 a year, for example, if you earn outside of that now, you will not get onto the housing list. But yet another couple other counties they're expanded up to 35,000, 40,000. So why are they making a difference? They chose to make that difference in the various other counties. They chose again to let Donegal go to hell and let them lie at the end of the list yet again. They are choosing not to introduce emergency housing. They are choosing not to introduce sites of social housing and so on in the meantime now, Greg, to help alleviate. Don't get me wrong, Greg. Look, at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We all have the same things in front of us, but we all also deserve a level playing field, Greg.
Okay, so do you believe then? Do you believe then the housing crisis that's affecting Ireland for Irish people, as I say, let me put it like that. It's a crude way of putting it, but it's the easiest way to explain it. Do you believe then putting them up in a hotel in Letterkenny or an old disused ESB office building? Do you believe that is the solution to fix the historic problem of homelessness in this country? The line's dropped there, Michael. Hopefully we'll come back. I'll wait a moment.
Likewise.
Right, okay, Michael, sorry, the line dropped there, so I want to ask that question again because I want the listeners to be able to hear the answer. Do you believe housing homeless people in hotels, in bed and breakfast rooms and in old disused ESB office blocks, do you believe that's the solution to the historic homeless problem in Ireland?
I don't believe it's a solution, Greg, no, but I do believe in the meantime it is an alternative. If it gets you off the streets, gets you in under a roof and the safety and the heat, it is an alternative. And that is what our government is doing, but unfortunately they are only doing it for some, they're not doing it for everybody. That's what I've said this last couple of days about this issue that we're talking about now. As long as it's a level playing field, it is not a level playing field at the minute, Greg, and our government of today are choosing to make that divide. Why treat us all differently? Why can they not treat us all the same? Doesn't matter.
But that's
where
not what you said.
from,
That's not what you
country
said.
come
No, what you said. That's not what you said in your press release, though. You focused on Ukrainians.
Yes.
And you put visitors I think you put in visitors in inverted commas. You says too much emphasis is being. You're not saying it should be a level playing field. You're not saying that we should elevate the crisis of the Micah families and homelessness in this country. You never said it should be elevated to that of the response to the Ukrainian crisis. You said too much emphasis is being put on housing Ukrainians.
Yes, and I have at the end of the email, Greg, the same for us all. It should be, why make differences? Our government is making differences on the end of my email, Greg. Why are they making differences? There should be no differences made. We're all the same. Look, if the Ukrainians weren't mentioned, Greg, to be fair, I wonder, like, if I hadn't made a reference to Ukrainians, what they did, I wonder what we'd be talking about this morning. This is the thing, like, it's a game. Unfortunately,
okay, well, let me ask you a question because let's be fair about it then. When was the last time you sent us in an email about homelessness without mentioning Ukrainians?
I don't believe it.
Exactly, you didn't. So you don't know whether you'd be on today or not, and I'm sure you would have been if you came up with, and we've been talking about the issue of the housing crisis, particularly affecting people affected by defective concrete. We haven't stopped talking about it. We're constantly talking about it in this program. We recognise that. So you would have got on. I'll just let you know, if you had sent the email in without mentioning Ukrainians, that's not how we operate. You would have got on. I haven't brought you on because it's sexy. It's a genuine concern that an awful lot of us share about the issue of homelessness. It's something I'm doing as much as I can on this platform to do. But you are pitching one group of people against another, and respectfully, it's playing to a narrative. You've seen what's going on in this country, and I'm just wondering if you believe it to be fully responsible as an elected representative. That's all. I'm not having a go, just a conversation.
Yeah, fair enough, Greg. And look, I appreciate your points and your comments as well, like always. But it's the government that is pitching here, not me, not us. It's the government that's pitching, because the government are choosing, Greg, as you know yourself. You've mentioned it this morning. They are choosing to pay millions upon millions out to hoteliers, to various other ones, to house a certain group. The Ukrainians, as it be at the minute, and our own Irish are not getting seen to, Greg. All I'm looking for is a level playing field. For example, our people go to any other country. It's happening at the minute. There's nobody welcome to open arms if things don't work out for them. That's the problem, like. So why?
Yeah, but let's look at it like this, right? There's 110,000 Irish people currently in Australia, right? And there's 130,000 homeless people in Australia. Are we saying that Irish people mean if the Irish people were chased out of Australia, that 100,000 Australian people would not be homeless any longer? I mean, you have to think about it logically here. This is policy, right? But it's not that Ukrainians are replacing space for Irish. If the will is there by a government, as I say, Australia has not much more homeless as there are Irish overworking on Australia. The two aren't really fully connected. It's about a policy. But when you start targeting a particular group of people, what happens is then that starts stirring up bad will and hate.
But Greg, it's not. I'm not looking to stir up any bad will or hate. Unfortunately, the stirring up has been done months ago before I said anything. The stirring up has been done, but it's at the stage now, Greg. It's at busting point, to be fair, and it's even beyond busting point. That's probably exaggeration at this point. It's even gone beyond busting point, to be fair, from what I'm hearing. I've sat on the fence on this for months and months and months, as probably others have as well.
The government have a report on their table for the last 4 or 5 months, I believe, maybe even longer, that stated that this was going to happen, and yet they didn't do much to address it. The bottom line is though, it feels to me like you're punching down on Ukrainians when this is a government fault. This is the government's fault. The government could provide modular housing for the people affected by the Micah crisis, and they could properly source and set up a system that homeless people are supported. A lot of homeless people just don't move into a place. They also need supports as well. That should be happening. it's not that there's too much emphasis on the Ukrainians. We have a historic problem in this country of the government's inaction on housing, on homelessness, and of course because of the defective concrete block crisis. But there's people now from Ukraine who are fleeing bombing listening to this that feel like, well, now it's my fault. What have I done? What have I done wrong? I'm trying to protect my young children here, and people can highlight the instances of men coming over here, and that's fine. But anyone I've spoken to in Donegal so far, anyway, has kind of been families. But be that as it may, everyone's fleeing a certain situation. By you bringing them into this conversation, it feels like it's criticism of Ukrainians, but not a criticism of historic government underperforming in terms of looking after homeless people here.
Well, Greg, the reality is here, you're right what you're saying, the historic stuff and everything else, but the reality is here, our government of the day at the minute are clearly sitting on the fence. I mean, for example, they're doing nothing about it. They're due to change Taoiseach now shortly in the next couple of weeks or so. That's going to bring its own problems in, no doubt. 18 months' time or 2 years' time again, they're due to change government. That's going to bring its own problems. For example, is there any coincidence, to be fair, Greg, up until this night, it was third night was this night, that the documentary on about the Quinn documentary, how the country went wrong. And then I heard
stay where you are. I have to take a break for the news. I want to give you an opportunity, obviously, to fully express your view. Stay right where you are. We'll do the news and then we'll come back to this issue. All right, it is 11 o'clock. Let's get a news update. Good morning, Emma Ryan. Actually, sorry, Emma, just bear with me 1 second. Right, good morning, Emma.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A new Gardaí equipment will be operational from today that will make testing for drugs faster and more comprehensive on the roadside. The device will not only check for the likes of cocaine and cannabis, but also amphetamine and methamphetamine. It will work like an antigen test with a result in less than 8 minutes. Speaking on today's 9 till noon show, Inspector Seamus McGonigal says the new testing has been introduced in an attempt to prevent an increase of collisions and fatalities over the Christmas period. A new anti-bullying strategy has been launched today. It will mean schools will need to add incidents to a national database to help identify issues and causes of bullying. Under the plan, teachers will also get extra training to help them deal with and prevent bullying in classrooms. Between 400 and 500 jobs will be created following the announcement by Pfizer of a €1.2 billion investment at its Grange Castle site in Dublin. It will bring the total number of Pfizer employees in Dublin to approximately 5,500. A Letterkenny councillor has welcomed plan for a new town centre development as a game changer for the town. Plans have been submitted for the construction of a 6-storey and 4-storey building that will include 154 student bedrooms and 13 apartments at a site close to the station roundabout. The plans include the demolition of Glenini House and the construction of a series of other retail units. The plan is currently at the early stages with planning permission lodged to Donegal County Council. The HSE is facing mounting pressures to deliver a centre of excellence for people with diabetes in Donegal. The chair of the Regional Health Forum West says that a large number of people with type 1 diabetes in the county, it warrants an enhancement of treatment services at Letterkenny University Hospital. It's been confirmed that the recruitment of 2 permanent consultants for the hospital is underway. And finally, the government is being urged to ensure Duncanely Health Centre services are restored. Donegal Deputy Thomas Pringle has told the Dáil that people are extremely worried about the future of the centre and the future of their town. He says he is awaiting a response from the HSE on the matter. Deputy Pringle told Taoiseach Micheál Martin that this is just the latest in a long list of service withdrawals from the area. That's all for now. We'll have a news update again at 12 o'clock.
All right, Emma, thanks very much. Councillor Michael McClafferty, sorry, continue your point there.
That's all right.
You wanted to...
Hello?
Yes, it's Michael, it's Greg here. Continue your point there. I cut you off before the news.
No, that's all right. No, thank you. What I was saying was, just like last night was the third night, last night of the Sean Quinn documentary that they done there of how the things went wrong with the Quinn company and so on, and the country got into the States and Anglo Bank and everything else. With that on this night, we have all the problems we have at the minute in the country. And then yesterday and these days now going forward, it's going out now about the bankers again starting to get their bonuses again, Greg. Like, nothing has been learned. We're going back down the same old road we were again 20 odd years ago.
Okay. I understand.
Again for the same problems.
I don't quite see the connection to you thinking that we've too much emphasis on Ukrainians. But listen, I stay where you are, because Paul Kernan is coordinator within the Intercultural Platform. Paul, you've listened to the councillor's remarks there. What are your views on them?
Hello, Greg. Hello, Michael. Yeah, I suppose our concern is that this is a very complicated issue, that it requires care. It requires consideration when people are making comments about the issue of housing and homelessness. And we feel that people really need to be careful and think about and understand and grasp the complexity before they make statements. And I have to say that we felt very much in the Intercultural Platform that we have an example of blaming the victim in a situation rather than looking to the cause of the problem. And really, if you take out the references in Councillor McClafferty's statement to the Ukrainians and talked about the challenge of housing and homelessness, we wouldn't have a problem with that. We're very much recognising there is a problem. And I welcome his newfound interest in housing and homelessness. We organised a conference back in Letterkenny in June 2019 about the housing and homeless crisis faced by all the residents in the county. Maybe Michael was busy that day, but he wasn't in attendance that day. But we were looking at some of the possible ways to strengthen and improve the housing responses and the homeless responses in the council. But it's a complicated issue, and I think many of the problems that we have been talking about, and Councillor McClafferty's been talking about, pre-existed the arrival of any Ukrainian person in Donegal.
But with that in mind, though, Paul,
for
sure, and I think I referenced that. But with that in mind, the comments that Michael is making are comments that people, the conversations people are having in their homes, you know, and there has to be a space to be able to tease these things out as well. You know, you talk of where do we direct our anger then, or our upset? You talked about these being historic problems. You talked about that conference organised in 2019, that a lot of the problems we have now predate homelessness. So then people see the reaction there can be when people are in crises, when they come into this country, and the 350 odd million spent on hotels and other accommodation. You know, where do we direct the anger then? Because we're still here, we're still suffering homelessness, but the government can pull out all the stops to help another group of individuals that need help, but others also need help. So where does the anger get directed? You know, because, as I say, Michael is reflecting the views of a lot of people out there today.
Yeah, I think the term anger is probably quite right. There's a lot of people very angry about a lot of policy decisions that have been made or actions that have not been made over the last number of years. But really, when you think about it, the people in parties with their hands on the levers of power are in government. They are the people governing this country. And if there's an issue about investment or there's an issue about service provision, the focus, in my view, should be with the parties in power and with the political structures within the country, because that's where the resources and the will to make progress and change comes from.
Michael, you know, as we're speaking overnight, just outside Kilmacrennan, more Zs were painted on signs, road signs. You know, that's anti-Ukrainian. There's just no other way to look at that. It's sort of using the Russians' war symbol. Are you concerned that when you sort of talk about, you know, Ukrainians being picked over Irish, and you see what's happening around the country where there's groups of people asking for people seeking refuge here to go home, do you fear, or do you have any concern that your language that you're using encourages or can encourage people to go out and deface signs with anti-Ukrainian graffiti?
Definitely not, Greg. I don't believe it does or it has, because in fairness, the said stuff you're referring to has been going on there for some time, as other defacing of signs going on for some time. Clearly, these people are quite happy, whoever are doing the sheds and various other acts of graffiti there over this last couple of months and this last couple of years now. They're quite happy enough, Greg, to hide behind the spray tan. They're not happy enough to obviously send an email or phone yourselves or text yourselves or somebody else, a platform like yourselves, similar to yourselves, and come out and say what their issues are or what their grievances are, or try and explain to put their points across. Look, they're always going to hide. I've said things possibly out of context in the wrong way. It wasn't maybe meant the way it come across. I say it now, but look, at least I'm on to defend myself and defend say what's going on. I'm airing the views of the people, what's happening out there. As the government needs to step in here and sort things out for everybody.
But
Ukrainians, Irish,
do you think as an elected representative, when you hear people sort of going, well, look what they can do for the Ukrainians and they're not doing it for the Irish.
Yes.
Do you think as an elected rep with an understanding of the working of the councils, then the responsibility falls on to you is, I agree with what you're saying. I can understand how you feel it. I've felt it. I felt this way at times myself. But Donegal County Council have built hardly any homes over the last 15 years. We need to come up with real long-term solutions for homelessness in this country, but we also have a responsibility to help our fellow humans. These are humans fleeing, dangerous situations. Like, do you know what I mean? Do you not think that your responsibility, you're slightly elevated as an elected rep to sort of, rather than throw fuel on those flames, to actually call out where the problem is? And the problem is historic underspend and lack of interest in fixing the Irish homelessness problem.
It definitely is, Greg, lack of underspend. But the other thing historic here as well as lack of underspend, it's lack of underspend, Greg, in this county. It's lack of will in this county. It's lack of interest in this county. Why, as other counties, Dublin, Clare, so on, why are they being treated better than us? Why are they being? Why are we being overlooked and they're not being overlooked? We're all the same people at the end of the day. That's my problem with the whole thing, and that's why I come back to it again. It needs to be, why make differences? As the government is causing the problem here. The government are just messing about, kicking the can down the road, and they're quite happy, Greg, the government of today, in due course, to ride into the sunset and leave it to whoever next comes along then, elected to the government. There you go, lads, boys and girls, do use what you want with it.
I just don't think for Irish homeless people. I mean, you can go to the council and you can get nights in bed and breakfast. You'd be familiar with that as an elected representative. We've been doing that for years. I just don't think the solution to the Irish homelessness problem is taking over a hotel and, asking them to live in that room, eat out of that room, or get fed in the hotel, or send children from school from a single room. That can't be our solution, long-term solution to homelessness, surely. People fleeing a war, okay, it might have to do, but I'm not sure. You're talking about the emphasis in looking after Ukrainians. I just don't think the solution to the Ukrainian refugee crisis is a solution to the housing crisis. They seem really quite different. We need homes, long-term homes for people that are affordable, with proper resources and services around them. And if people need supports in moving from homelessness into accommodation, that there's supports there. If there's addiction issues or whatever, that can be an issue, particularly in our cities. Do you know what I mean? It's a far more complex operation, rather than taking over a hotel and saying, okay, you've been homeless in Ireland for 2 or 3 years. There's a room for you on the 4th floor.
100%, Greg, what you're saying, definitely so. But I suppose the hotel end of it, I don't agree. The hotel end of it is not an answer, it's not a solution. But as we'll come back again, what I said, it is better than nothing. If you have no other option, it's better than nothing in the meantime. But again, the amount of millions and hundreds of millions is being spent in hotels, would that not be better spent on greenfield sites somewhere, or brownfield sites, and whether it be bringing...
Yeah, but there's a huge underspending already in the Department of Housing. So this is not money that's being taken out. You see, people believe that this is money that's being taken from dealing with Irish homelessness and being spent on Ukrainians and others fleeing. It's not. You see, that's giving the government a pass. That's blaming the victim here. It's not the case. There is plenty of money to fix the housing problem for Irish people if the right strategy and the will is there. This is not money being taken from the mouths of the Irish and given to the Ukrainians. That's the problem.
Yeah, I know that, Greg, but they are not giving the money into Donegal here to sort out what's going on. For example, building houses, building infrastructure. It's not all alone just even building houses. You build houses, if you build houses tomorrow morning, you need infrastructure, you need water, you need sewerage, you need electricity, you need broadband. There's a whole lot of things. It's like baking a cake. A whole lot of things come into the mix alongside just granting the building of houses.
Paul, not by the councillor here that we're speaking to, but I mean, there's no doubt that our response to international situations is being weaponised. It was another issue a couple of years ago, another issue before that. and now it's the issue of immigration.
Absolutely, and I would like to say that I appreciate Councillor Claverty's comment about the complexity of baking the cake. It does take a lot of components, and it is something that needs a lot of time and attention. We'd be very much of the view, maybe Michael has been badly advised about how best to address the issue of housing and homelessness. We'd be very happy to meet with them and maybe explore those complexities and some of the issues that we feel would address the housing crisis that faces everybody living in Donegal, whether they're affected by MICA, whether they're affected by eviction or by breakdown of their tenancy or anything else. I mean, there has been another unspoken element to all of this, and that's been the huge profits that have been made by private interests around the whole international protection and supporting the Ukrainian refugees. And we would be very much of the view, again, that it's a policy response. It should be the state provision, that it should be not taking houses and properties out of the housing stock for the profit of a few individuals, but that there ought to be a national response where people are being housed and the housing solutions are being addressed by the state rather than fueling private speculation. And that's another issue, but that also speaks to the complexity of the
And
issue.
I'll put that point to you again, Michael. You know, as I say, there's 116,000 of us in Australia living in houses and apartments, and you know, if it got to the point whereby we had Australians, and maybe there is a party that's saying it, I don't know, that was saying that we need to get rid of the Irish so we can house the 125,000 homeless Australians, you know, we would be up in arms here. You know, wouldn't we? And we've seen it before. We were not welcome where we went previously, and we were told that. We saw signs in the windows. I don't need to remind people of what they are. It's not nice when you're on the receiving end of not being welcome and being blamed for a problem, Michael.
I appreciate that, Greg, and realise that. But the thing is, in Australia, they're not spending the hundreds of millions in Australia. They're spending here.
Well,
This
they've
is
had
the
to
problem.
spend it on the health service. They've had to spend it on infrastructure.
Oh, yes, and rightly so.
You know what I mean. There is a cost. I know it's different, and people say, "Oh, well, they're working and they're meeting a need." That's fine, but it's still, if you wanted to bring it down to the basic of a roof over someone's head, you could make the same argument. Hugh Friel is Roma Health Coordinator. Hugh, good morning.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm good. What's your view?
I think it's unfair and just unfounded to blame the Ukrainian families or individuals who's come on to Donegal regarding the homeless housing situation in Donegal. Firstly, I've worked in accommodation for the last 20 years, and the only councillor I've seen at the court front was Kieran Brogan advocating for homeless services in this county. Donegal Travellers Project has been at the front of accommodation, homelessness, driving the car in relation to this, driving that we need more services in Donegal in relation to homeless services, people who have acute mental health issues, who's in psychiatric care, who needs homeless accommodation, or a wraparound support when they come out around accommodation. I've yet to see the councillors gathering or advocating that we need more homeless services in this county. I'm the chairperson of the local traveller accommodation consult committee, and one of these kind of right-wing approaches, attempts go on a social, kind of like a social media platform and a racial profiling of an ethnic minority group that happened travellers, that happened, the Roma community. Now it's happening to Ukrainian families.
Do you mind if I interject respectfully? I don't think I don't think labelling concerns Michael's expressing and many people share as right wing. I mean, there is obviously always going to be right wing elements that will jump on an opportunity, but I think these are genuine concerns that people look around them and they feel their brothers and their sisters and their aunts and uncles are struggling for a home, or they're homeless, or indeed it could be members of the traveller community would have an understanding of struggling to get accommodation. It's going to be human when you see. It's going to be. This is why it's good to talk about it. It's going to be human. It's human to sort of have this reaction, I think, then when you see another group of individuals, all resources seemingly being thrown at them. So I don't know if it's helpful, Hugh, with respect to label them as right-wing views. I think they're human. I think this is a failure of the government to communicate properly.
Why I said that, Greg? Why I said that in the sense it's because it portrays right-wing views, because we got the anti-sentiments on the roads, we got the anti-sentiments on walls. It starts this anti-sentiment right-wing approach towards Ukrainian families. None of us had You know, I know a lot of the Ukrainian individuals who's living here. You know, I've spoken with them in the Moore and Paul and the Intercultural Platform. They've been non-stop. Me or you or Michael or anybody else in this radio or in this environment today did not have 5 minutes to leave their home, 10 minutes to leave their home. We're talking about individuals who had a war in their country, who's impacted on trauma, have got 5 or 10 minutes to pick up their personal belongings and get out of their home. So when we talk about the resources and we need to talk about what's happening here as a county. The Ukrainian individuals or families are not at blame for the housing crisis that we're facing in Donegal. This has been historic, Craig, in relation to the homeless services not being provided. By the Maker Address programme, you've seen it, the campaigners, and rightly so, I stand in solidarity with them. Their homes falling in around them. Nobody's doing nothing in relation to, a redress programme. They're promising. There's nothing happening for them individuals. There's safety issues regarding the houses falling down around them. Where is the programme that these redress? So we're talking about something that was prehistoric before the Ukrainian families or individual came here, and now some people get on the banter wagon around the Ukrainian families, all their fault, all their resources going on them. I've run conference myself in Siobhan McLaughlin in 2015, a massive conference on homelessness and services in Donegal. We've only one homeless centre here. It's packed to the rims, and that's not the blame that the individuals win. It's the blame within the circle of private rented social housing that there's no move on from that. Right. We have loads of homeless people. We have homeless things happening, Craig. Well, my point is, when this anti-sentiment stuff starts, it does start a right-wing approach. The people get on the bandwagon about no more than about my.
That's why we have the conversation, though. I take your point, but that's why.
No, the conversation is good, but that's my point in relation to
and I want to put it to Paul, because like on this program as well, annually we cover issues of families who can't get bus places for their children, for an example. School bus places. I'm in contact with a lady in Creasler who can't get a bus spot for their child, and it's causing great stress and anxiety in the household with everything else that's gone on in that area. And yet instantly we can find contracts for buses that will literally go door to door, not in any traditional route, to pick up Ukrainian refugees and take them to school. That's exactly what we should be doing. But how do you square the circle then with someone who's been struggling for years to try and get their child to school, and then they see the reaction to another group of individuals? How do you speak to their really human interaction that they feel that they're being treated lesser than another group of people?
I'm sure any parent who's in that situation would be very upset, and I would commiserate with them and I'd identify with them. I mean, I do think as well, it's back to the big issue, the policy issue. There was a decision made this year to make school transport free, without really maybe from central government channels looking in the detail of that. Are there sufficient drivers? Are there sufficient buses? Are there services and facilities to meet demand?
Will people apply for tickets that they don't need?
The biggest problem.
Yeah, lots of
and that as well.
Yeah.
That as well. So I mean, again, it is just when someone for whatever reason points to a refugee or a Ukrainian and says that's the reason, we would say, step back and think about what's actually the reason, and don't be blaming the person who's escaping, as you said earlier, escaping a war in their own country. And back to the point earlier that Councillor McClafferty was making, and that is that what's going on in terms of what he's saying. He's not intentionally fanning any flames, but it's our point about being careful about what you say. There are people whose interest is to take maybe not the best advice or the best wording. I mean, I'm very heartened to hear Michael maybe modifying his comments on radio compared with what he put out in the statement. But people are still inadvertently or otherwise fueling those negative voices and those negative responses, rather than adding to people's understanding and adding to our recognition of the needs of people who are here seeking international protection. And if there's anger, and it's a righteous anger, it should be focused in the right place, not at the people who, as you described earlier, who were victims themselves.
Yeah, but, I mean, Michael, you've no anger towards Ukrainians. I'm not saying Paul said that you do, but just to be clear, because I don't want you misrepresented here either, not by Paul or by Hugh, but by me or the programme. you have no ill will towards Ukrainians. I mean,
Absolutely
that's clear.
not,
I just
Greg, no,
want that to be
None
clear from this
whatsoever.
conversation. Yeah. Right,
Look, I appreciate the fact.
Yeah, go ahead.
I appreciate the fact the Ukrainians and various other countries are here. Why they're here, they have no choice in that. The main thing I'm saying is just treat everybody alike, and this is back to our government again, and it's back to the people getting onto the social housing list at the minute. From January 23 onwards, Greg, just make this clear for people in Donegal, from 2023 onwards, if you choose to seek a house on the Donegal County Council, if you earn over 30,000, you will not be accepted onto the housing list.
But you would know, I'm not going to put you in a position, but you would know the level of homelessness across the northwest. You'd have seen the recent figures. You'd know how many people are on a housing waiting list in Donegal. You'd have all that information before you'd release a statement like this, though, wouldn't you?
Yes, there's quite a lot, Greg. But the point I'm saying is, from January 2023 going forward, if you live in at least 2 different counties, you can get big. If you earn up to 35,000, you'll get on the list, and if you earn up to 40,000, you'll get on the list. And my point is, and I will be writing to the minister about this, why is he making a difference for us in Donegal? Play the same for everybody across the board. The county councils should be treated the same equally. There should be no difference from the rules of one county council and a various county to another county in Donegal.
Michael, you made that point. Thank you for that. Thank you very much for taking our call, Michael McClafferty, Hugh Friel, and also Paul Kernan. Paul Kernan, coordinator with the Intercultural Platform. Hugh Friel, Roma Health Coordinator. Michael McClafferty, Councillor Independent. All right, let's take a break. The phone's lit up off the back of that conversation. We'll get to some of those views after these.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard. Bringing full banking features. Delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
Andrea, Matteo, and Virginia Bocelli. Together for the very first time. On their brand new album, A Family Christmas. The Bocellis, A Family Christmas, available now from therecordhub.com.
Celebrating the 25th anniversary of the first Joe Dolan Bundoran Music Festival, a spectacular Christmas party night at the Allingham Arms Hotel on Friday, December the 16th, with the sensational Joe Dolan Show, Remembering Joe, featuring 5 vocalists with the Dolan family and the original Joe Dolan Band, cabaret dinner and accommodation if required. Now booking at the Allingham Arms or online at showtours.ie. Revive the 90s in Bundoran on December the 16th at the Allingham.
At Very, it's easy to share the love this Christmas. We've got the brands they want, the best gifts for every budget, plus free click and collect on most small items. Which means all your shopping sorted. And a very Merry Christmas to you. Shop Christmas at very.ie.
This is it. It's winter time. It's Dublin. And there's magic at every turn this December. Go for a stroll round Dublin's Christmas markets and be mesmerised by the twinkling lights on Grafton Street. Then take in Christmas at the Guinness Storehouse. Or visit Malahide Castle and marvel at the Wonder Lights. And don't miss the countdown to the spectacular midnight moment at our New Year's Festival. Winter in Dublin. It's magic. Make your plans today at visitdublin.com. Brought to you by Fáilte Ireland.
Save hundreds of euros on custom charges when doing your Christmas shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your Christmas parcels and post. Save hundreds, possibly thousands, on custom charges this Christmas with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 7187 8077 for more details.
Millionaire Raffle from the National Lottery is back. With 1 millionaire guaranteed and over €5.2 million in cash prizes to be won, it's the biggest ever. The draw's on New Year's Eve and tickets are limited. Have you got yours? The National Lottery. It could be you. Gift responsibly.
I'm nipping to Super Value. OK, tea, mince pies, weekly voucher on my app. Oh,
and a brand new car.
Your trip to SuperValue could look even better with our new Real Rewards Scan to Win monthly prize draw. Every scan of your Real Rewards card equals one chance to win. This December, you could win a brand new Kia Niro hybrid car, a family trip to Disneyland, a prize in every SuperValue and more. So, start scanning. T's and C's apply. See supervalue.ie for full details and how to enter the draw.
Spoil someone with a beautiful perfume this Christmas from McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Choose by designer, budget or celebrity. Top names like Clarins, Flowerbomb, Gucci, Dolce & Gabbana, Calvin Klein and Burberry. Also Yves Saint Laurent, Jean-Paul Gaultier, Elizabeth Arden and so many more. All at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny and online at mcgees.ie. McGee's, where the best cost less.
Suckler cow destocking recommended to Minister. For more in this week's Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
We reveal details of proposed scheme for suckler farmers to wind down or get out. Veterinary medicine and fertiliser changes hit legal roadblock. What you need to know about the new TB testing rules. Plus calls for farmers to be paid €2,500 per hectare for re-wetting.
And in Irish Country Living, don't miss your free 36-page festive food magazine inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
There's something about this time of year that makes you want to be near all the things that remind you of your favourite Christmas. When you get that warm and fuzzy feeling, you want to be near the people you love and the things you love. So we're better to get that Christmas feeling than Letterkenny Shopping Centre. There's free parking, extended opening hours and great gifts for everyone on your list. Add in a visit to Santa, you'll have Christmas all wrapped up. Letterkenny Shopping Centre. Christmas just around the corner.
Chased blocks are concrete blocks with lines already in them, so when interior walls are built using these blocks, sets of lines are formed from the floor to the ceiling, removing the need for cutting. If you're a building contractor, concrete block manufacturer, electrician, plumber or architect, you're invited to this major launch taking place in the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny, this Thursday evening, the 1st of December at 8 p.m.
And you're welcome back to the programme. Right, some of your comments here. Greg, why are you and our government so anti-Irish? We have all these virtual signallers who act on how they feel, like yourself. House the Irish first. It's quite simple. Why minorities always first? I don't quite know what you mean there. Virtue signallers. I've been on this programme for quite some time and working news for a long time. All of these problems have been ongoing for an awful long time. And maybe now people are getting motivated to try and say, right, governments, enough is enough. This is what we require. This is what we read now. But it's a distraction to say that the Irish are now being put second because people are dealing with Ukrainians. I mean, you have to look at the facts. We've been dealing with these problems for ages, absolutely ages. Problems at the hospital for a generations. People will remember similar situations 10, 15 years ago. Homelessness, a serious problem. Access to social housing always has been a serious problem. Greg, I totally agree with Councillor Michael McClafferty, and what he's saying is what a lot of people are thinking. We weren't able to look after our own people, but taking in people to the country and looking after them, you're trying to dress it up, but what he says is totally right. I'm trying to do, and there's not an awful lot of platforms that it's happening, is have a conversation with all different points of view. Where he says a point of view, if he changes his point of view, if he changes our points of view, or whatever it might be, it's a conversation where people are able to have this conversation without being called words like racist or far right, okay? We're having an open conversation. And we have right from the very beginning. And I think that's healthy. Well, what do we all do? You with points of view over there, stay over there, and others with overview there, and we never have a conversation, and we never try and maybe change our views one way or other. I haven't expressed a point of view here yet today. I'm simply trying to tease out a conversation so that we're having it out in the open and people feel that they can. Another caller says, so you think they would rather live in a cardboard box than a hotel where they are warm and fed? The people want a cap, so why isn't it happening? We are being led by Europe. I don't know. I don't know what the situation is. I don't know how we would solve that. I know from people who work with homelessness in Dublin that there are beds available. For one reason or other, people choose not to go into them. I don't know what the reasons are. The reasons are complex often. So I do know for a fact, because I know people who work with the homeless in Dublin, that people will choose a cardboard box than go into some of the accommodation that's made available to them. Now, maybe then we need to look at the supports that are there and that accommodation. Greg, what proportion of Donegal's homeless people could have been housed in these apartment complexes? That was a serious issue and remains it, where houses that were earmarked for social housing were then reallocated. That's a major problem, and people, I think, are justified in their anger in that regard. It's a minority really of those that are being housed in the county, but there's absolutely no doubt, and we've covered it extensively on this programme. It's no doubt causing serious issues and a really major problem, because that would have been good long-term housing for people on waiting lists, particularly and homelessness. Another caller says, you work your ass off in Australia. Yes, of course you do. 100%. And I've got friends and family that work in Australia. My point is this. If people wanted to make the argument that Irish people living in Australia and working were in some way depriving the homelessness of houses, there's more homeless than there are Irish, or about the same, sorry. They could make that argument. That's simply the point I'm making. There are many people of different nationalities in this country working their ass off, and many of them not far away from where I'm sitting here at the moment. Councillor in the council should sort out the Micah people first, which is the most pressing Donegal issue. That comes in from Daniel. Another, you are giving Michael a hard time over a matter which he perceives as being unfair. Many people agree with him. Michael was able to make his points, reiterate them again. We're having a conversation. Once again, Councillor Michael McClafferty doesn't understand the issue of war or racism. The Irish travelled the world and got discriminated against everywhere they went, yet they are responsible for building half the world. I worked in England for a couple of years in my early 20s, and it was some of the best times of my life, but some of the worst times of my life, because whilst people might think over here that I've kind of got an English twang to my accent for some reason, over there my accent was deemed very much Irish, and it was from all quarters a couple of very tough years that didn't do my health very much good. I'll be completely honest with you. A lot of it was down to racism against the Irish, because it was working in pubs and what have you, and it was a tough time. So I've seen or xenophobia, is it what you'd call it? So I have an understanding of that. It is not nice when you're far away from home and people are singling you out and calling you names and treating you differently just because you're from somewhere else. When will the Ukrainians have to start paying their way? Bus from Milford's packed with them, no seats for locals, and they get free travel, whereas locals have to buy 2 single buses. It doesn't do returns. Councillor McClafferty is expressing the views of the taxpayer. He's doing a great job of representing the views of people. There are big groups of his here who completely agree with him. That's been recognised. I understand that. And I actually referenced that during the course of the interview. 3,000 have arrived in Ireland without identification. Local people should be notified of unidentified, unvetted people moving to an area. I've kind of mixed in 2 comments there. Those people are arriving all the time. We've been accepting international people fleeing international crises. That's what direct provision is. You know what direct provision is. There's been an increase because of Britain have tightened their borders somewhat, but this has been ongoing for years and years and years. People describe them as unvetted. I don't know many people that have been vetted here, to be honest with you. But anyway, I take your point. Right, okay. And they keep coming in here, these comments, and we appreciate it. We're not being racist, but it's very unfair that our own people are being sidelined, all due to a non-functioning government. No one's calling anyone a racist on this programme, by the way, for expressing that point of view. And I've expressed a lot of what I hear out and about, a lot of conversations I have as it relates to concerns about apartments, concerns about the homelessness, which we've been talking, the buses, people who are struggling, that really need a bus air, and say to them, nothing we can do. Yet buses are being commissioned and put on all over the place, doing meandering routes. Do you remember the whole conversation was you have to get a bus to the school you live nearest to? Well, people are being bussed from Milford to Letterkenny and from Letterkenny to Milford. So all of that has been talked about on this programme, continues to be, and is recognised. But where does the fault lie? Does the fault lie with people fleeing a war, or does the fault lie with people that make the decisions here? That's up to each individual to make up their own mind and discuss it with their families and friends and have that conversation.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Seasonal loans now available for Christmas. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
At Irish Life Health, our benefit plan helps you embrace a healthier lifestyle. Get up to €250 back on a mix of benefits like fitness wearables, dietitians and sports clubs like your local GAA club. It's health insurance, but not as you know it. Search Irish Life Health.
Irish Life Health Act is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Terms and conditions apply. Call us to see exactly what's covered.
Don't miss a night of the Country Stars live in concert on Monday the 5th of December in the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny, featuring Jimmy Buckley, Brendan Shine, Patrick Finney, Olivia Douglas, Declan Nerney and your host and compere David James. Tickets now on sale from hotel reception and online at Eventbrite. That's Monday the 5th of December at the Mount Errigal Hotel.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring 70% off sale. Get up to 70% off on all your purchases. Up to 70% off all tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware. Everything's reduced in store. The 70% off sale at Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Stores nationwide. Sale extended until Sunday.
Did you hear that? 20% off wine and champagne. And that, Irish beef sirloin roast. And stuffed cook-in-the-bag Irish chicken. Now 20% off. Spiced Irish beef is 20% off too.
Have you got any 10 off 50s?
And that's the sound of better value. Every week leading up to Christmas, there's new savings to be had. Dunn Stores. Make Christmas for everyone. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on the next grocery shop of €50 or more. Voucher excludes alcohol. Please drink sensibly.
Put your money where your heart is this Christmas and purchase a Strabane gift card. A unique gift to spend in over 70 businesses in Strabane. Buy now from O'Neill's Sportswear, The Alley Theatre, Cafe Fresco or online at lovestrabane.com. The Strabane gift card. Dine, shop, enjoy this Christmas.
This year's Northwest Cancer Charity Ball with special guest Miriam O'Callaghan is a sellout, and the organising committee would like to thank the local community for being so supportive. Thanks to the generous donations from local businesses, there'll be an exciting raffle and a surprise Christmas shopping spree on the night. Check out the Northwest Cancer Ball's Facebook and Instagram page for more details. The committee look forward to meeting old friends and making new ones on Friday the 2nd at the Silver Tassie for a sparkling night of fun and entertainment in aid of breast cancer research.
Okay, now we are back in studio with Marie Hainsworth, manager at Donegal Domestic Violence Services. Good morning to you, Marie. Thanks so much for calling in.
Morning, Greg.
It's good to have you with us. Right, okay, we're talking about the 16 Days of Action campaign. Talk to us about that, Marie.
Well, every year, as many people are probably aware, there is a 16 Days of Action campaign against violence against women. It's kind of highlighting awareness of the issue, and it's a global campaign. But the United Nations tends to take a bit of a lead on it. So it runs from the 25th of November, which is International Day of Awareness around Gender-Based Violence, and it runs through to the 10th of December, which is International Human Rights Day. So it's kind of a period of time where a lot of human rights organisations come together and do different events or raise awareness or use it to kind of raise awareness of their own work if it ties into this. So, yeah, it fits in for us in terms of domestic violence and also our work with sexual violence in the county. So... and both of those areas is quite strong.
1,234 calls have been received by Gardaí so far this year reporting domestic violence instances. Now, when you consider our population, and even if you don't, it is an incredible volume of calls. But, if we just focus on the Donegal district...
Yeah, and I mean, when you think, even for our service, we're getting, 5 or 6 new callers a week. That's nearly one a day of people who've not really been in contact with the service before, or it was a very, very long time ago, but a lot of them are new callers. And it does kind of amaze us as well, that there's not a kind of letting go of it. The figures began to go up during COVID. And I think everybody's commenting on the fact that they haven't gone back down again. Now, whether that's because of increased awareness, whether it's because, organisations like the Gardaí are now more open and prepared to kind of work. They put a lot of time and effort into this topic over the last couple of years. So you probably will see an escalation. You will see an increase because more people, hopefully, are getting confidence.
And it's an obvious question I would ask in the situation. Is it more reporting or does it point to more incidents? Even if it is only giving us a sense of where we were always at, it's still a very high figure and something that we need to try and drive down. How do we do it? Because the government does seem to have an intent in legislating to try and discourage this behaviour, or maybe you believe that they don't. I mean... What's your view? Minister McEntee seems to be trying to work in this area.
She's definitely very committed to it. But a lot of the time, as with most government responses, it can be very reactionary and in terms of what raises most awareness. So their focus is particularly on refuge and accommodation because obviously, as you know, homelessness is an issue. And that tends to then ignore the other supports because I think you were flagging up in the last conversation. For homelessness, it's not just about accommodation. It's all the supports, particularly around mental health. It's around addiction issues, but also in terms of our work, we cross over with both those areas.
It's a multi. That's the point I'm trying to make because then the reason I try and choose my words carefully is then people might think that I'm trying to say that if you're homeless, you have a dependency or something like that. That's not what I'm saying. But to truly fix the homelessness issue in this country, it's a multi-agency approach. There's for a lot of people that are affected by
it is, and for our work in domestic violence, we've kind of recognised that as well. And a lot of the forums for frontline workers are now coming together on an interagency basis because it's been recognised one department and one organisation can't take this on by themselves. And that's the same for homelessness, but it's the same for all the other issues that intersect with it. Whether it's violence, whether it's addiction, whether it's mental health, or whether there's children out there as well with their own issues in relation to what they've been through, which adds to the complexity. The lack of public transport, the lack of availability of housing, the lack of finance.
Because you are also trying to access housing in this situation where there's so many competing interests. I mean, and it's a real challenge for Donegal Domestic Violence Services. It has been. See, again, I think I've had this conversation with you well before COVID. Do you know what I mean about the need for more housing to become available?
Yeah, and we have been lucky, like over the COVID period, we did put online, 3 more units of safe housing. We have 4 units of refuge. We still use B&B, which is not a good model of housing, and solving homelessness. And we're currently looking to try and lobby to get more access to a different model of housing where we might have long-term lease arrangements with developers, in different parts of the county. So, the response has to be flexible and it has to be creative as well. Like the old models don't work. And they do need to incorporate this new level of complexity. So, there's lots of conversations going on, but the bottom line is money. Finance needs to go into this sector. Developers need to be supported if they're the ones that are going to make the buildings, or the council needs to take on and do it, but they're still going to subcontract that work out. But money has to be forthcoming.
Yeah. A particular focus of the 16 Days of Action campaign for us here in Donegal is the focus on children. And I think also particularly at this time of the year, it's very hard to insulate children from this type of situation, but there will be people trying to create some normality this year, but their finances could be controlled or tied up. But there's lots of variables which you're far better qualified than I to talk of about. And this is in the context too of the toy appeal.
Yeah, we're actually focusing this time not just on the 16 days, but we are using the 16 days. Most of the time we go out during this period and actually work with schools and do a little bit of artwork. And I know some of the schools have actually put together pieces that we're looking to display now, just as a way of highlighting awareness. But we do like to focus on young people at this time. And the toy appeal that we've launched and are kind of running during these 16 days is aimed at just highlighting the fact that, with the cost of living crisis, families are left with having to make decisions about food or fuel and everything else, which is vital. But children tend to get pushed aside. Toys and Christmas and making this time a special time for them, it is not going to be at the forefront of a lot of people's minds, not by choice, but by necessity. So we're looking at ways in which we can support. Why, if there are businesses out there or individuals that have, new toys we're looking for, not secondhand, but new toys that we could actually either redistribute or vouchers that people can go out and purchase their own or allow us to purchase toys, anything like that, or even cash that we can buy vouchers to give to clients. We're just looking to try and, help in whatever way we can with the clients we're working with. And we work with nearly sort of 100 odd families a month, coming through the service. Plus there are clients that have maybe just left the service. So it's quite a broad reaching campaign in terms of who we'd connect to.
And just on the most basic level, if you have some resources or something spare, this is the type of a donation that you can put a smile on people's faces, on a child's face. And it really is as basic as that. And I think it would be a lovely gift to give. You might not see it, but it's going to be there. And these are often people and children that are going through or have gone through a very traumatic experience have a road ahead of them too, Marie. You know, it's not a one day thing and everyth's fixed.
No, it's a long journey.
It's
Many
a long journey
many clients are with us for years. Yeah,
exactly. At what point do we a lot of this is reactionary. I know you do work that's not. But we are identifying a lot of domestic violence. 1,234 calls so far this year. Maybe some of those are multiples, but still, it's an awful lot of people. It's a big problem. That's just in Donegal, by the way. That would be a bad national figure. This is a Donegal figure. Changing attitudes, trying to stop this happening, calling ads. It's complex. What do we need to be doing more of, Marie?
It's probably a bit of all of that. I think we are seeing an increase in call-outs because, people are a little bit more aware. But unfortunately, the other side of it is that the level of violence, and this is linked not just, within domestic violence, domestic homicide, those figures have kind of stayed pretty consistent. It's nearly one woman a month in Ireland is murdered through a domestic situation. Now, that can be a partner or ex-partner, but the group that's kind of growing and that we're seeing more and more of is where the partner is another male relative, which is often an adult son. And this is the group where we are seeing that there's going to be more and more, or predicting that there's going to be more and more violence, because you've got people staying at home for longer because they can't move out. You've got drug involvement with some, and that's leading to an increased level of violence. By the time guards get the call out, a considerable amount of damage can be done, as you could imagine. And these serious cases are meaning that, there's a lot more kind of reaction and frontline and critical incident work. So the work of trying to long-term move people on, and maybe the level of violence isn't that high, are being pushed further and further down. So, organisations like ourselves do need to be resourced to kind of develop this work a little bit more, because, these cases are just going to
A few calls from people that say that it can be difficult if you are a single person, not a parent, and you've left a abusive relationship. I can't go through them because the comments are quite long, but I will tomorrow. Is that an issue? Do you have to prioritise children? Do you recognise that?
No, we don't prioritise children. In that sense, we work with all families, and it doesn't have to be young families either. It can be older. We get a lot of older women. And as I was mentioning, the teenage son or the adult son, that means that the victim is necessarily going to be in their 50s or 60s. We've got clients who are in their 70s or 80s. And the other campaign, we're not really running that campaign, but we are focusing as well in terms of supporting older people during Christmas period coming through our service who might be on their own on Christmas Day, and trying to kind of connect them in with somebody else, or look at providing a Christmas dinner for them and support. So, there's
a lot of plates in the air, really, isn't there, to try and, okay. Right, so if people wish to donate, you've new toys, cash or vouchers, that will help children and help make their Christmas. How do they do so, Marie?
Well, new toys can come to ourselves if they call the helpline number. It's the 1800 262677, or I'll leave a mobile with Highland as well, so people could either WhatsApp or they could message us on Facebook. We do have a website, donegaldomesticviolenceservices.ie, and that has a donate or a fundraise category button that you can just press, and that takes us onto our fundraising platform. We've changed platforms. You don't have to pay. There's no contribution that you make when you give a donation, so it all comes straight to the service. Okay. You'll see the toy campaign up there if you want more information on it.
And we've seen the stats, like in Britain at the moment. England are in the World Cup. It leads to a spike in domestic violence instances. Here, like at Christmas time, do we see more? Maybe there's more drink or other.
Well, we certainly saw a lot during COVID when there was a lockdown period. So I suppose it depends how people are going to spend Christmas. We do notice in the run up to Christmas, maybe families make a decision that they'll try and make it work. So you might see a fall off. We'll be just supporting clients who are already involved. But we'll also see in this period between now and Christmas, people might make a decision to leave a relationship, that they don't want Christmas that way. So it's going to be busy either way. And then after Christmas, we tend to get a lot of people where things have just deteriorated to the point that and for many families, it's the fact that they don't want the children experiencing it. That can often be the trigger. Or children are naming it. We'll know that the calls from children into the childline services will increase over Christmas. A lot of those calls are about domestic violence that they're witnessing.
People can contact Gardaí via the Garda Síochána Facebook page for advice, but please, in an emergency, don't use the Facebook page. Call the emergency number. Donegal Domestic Violence Services, Marie mentioned the number, 1-800-262677. ddvsrefuge@gmail.com. Men's Aid 01 5543 811. The Donegal Women's Centre 074 912 4985, and there is that website donegalwomencentre.ie. You might know our number off by heart. Please don't be concerned about ringing us. We'll pass on any of that information and the contact details for Marie for the Christmas toy appeal. All right, Marie, listen, thank you as always for chatting to us. We really do appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Back with a wrap-up after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
When family and friends come through the door, give them Aldi treats that they'll adore. Danish butter cookies just $2.79. Must-have Tato party boxes only $4.50. The 10.79 Project Pilsner, $1.29. And great value on Quality Street chocolate tubs, now 2 for €8. They're all worth celebrating, really. Aldi. Make Christmas amazing for everyone. Get the facts, be drink aware, visit drinkaware.ie.
Hello, Farmer Tinny here. Tinny's Toys are now open 7 days a week. New stock arriving weekly. Our Christmas Club is now open. Check out our entire range online at tinnystoys.com, where we offer free shipping on orders over €75. Buy now, pay later with Klarna. No extra charges. Tinny's Toys, Ireland's largest farm toy superstore. Down by.
Bill, ní onan gach léirú I ní smóna chuige anamh timp na héireann ar na muoinú I go gcóirle alainn. Téigh léirú Bill de cheantarsa. Chud de hic an áirí, inniu. Tá hasclub live is muoinethe I go gcóirle alainn.
At Ulster Bank, we have now begun to close current and deposit accounts. At this time, if your notice period and your deadline has passed, your account is now queued for closure. You must take action now. If you are still relying on your personal or business bank account and in need of support, please contact us immediately. Visit ulsterbank.ie, your local branch, or call 0818 210 260. Call costs may vary and calls from mobiles may not be free. Ulster Bank Ireland DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Joe Gallagher Entertainments presents the world's greatest ABBA show. Direct from Sweden, Arrival, featuring original ABBA musician. Sunday the 8th of January, Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Tickets on sale from hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie. Follow us on Facebook, Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
And now the Highland Forecast, brought to you by Shop LK. Widespread Christmas shopping this December in Letterkenny. See shoplk.ie or like us on Facebook.
Okie doke. So today will be mainly cloudy with a few spots of light rain or drizzle, but overall plenty of dry weather, some bright spells too, moderate southerly breezes, temperatures 9 to 12 degrees. I just want to give a mention to you of this. Today, the 1st of December, of course, happy Christmas, which means Highland Radio is officially in Christmas mode. So what a way to start Christmas with the launch of our new 12 deals of Christmas. Do you see what we did there? It's not 12 days, it's 12 deals of Christmas. So from today until the 12th of December, we'll have a daily offer from businesses across Donegal. Now, a new deal will be added daily and can be viewed on our website, highlandradio.com. On our homepage under 12 deals of Christmas. Now you click on the deal of your choice and all the contact and offer information will be available. There is also a video. Today's first deal is from O'Donnell's Fuels in Illistrin, who are offering €30 of home heating oil up until Sunday the 4th of December. To avail, all you have to do is call and mention the discount code Highland30. So that's €30 in your pocket simply by going on our website highlandradio.com, clicking into deal of the day, and you could save yourself €30. That's the first deal. Not bad one, is it? Especially as a lot of people I think might be considering ordering home heating oil for to make sure to get them over Christmas. So you could have €30 in your back pocket. A nice little lunch for two there, or whatever you might want to do. Highland Radio here. We're delighted to be supporting local businesses and communities across the Northwest. So stay tuned for go and check that out. Get your €30 saved. And also look out for another deal of the day tomorrow. I want to play a special birthday request for John Wallace, who's working in Kelly Centre in Mountain Top. Happy birthday to you, John. Hope you have a lovely day. Always generous with wishing others a happy birthday. So glad to see you celebrating yours today. Right, tomorrow's Friday panel, a lot to talk about. We have 3 guests as always joining us. We want you there as well, getting involved in that conversation. Michael and Fanula will be joining us as well between 11 and 12. And we have €1,000 to give away at 11:30 tomorrow. And don't forget, if you are going to buy a ticket for the big car draw taking place just before Christmas, a €30,000 car up for grabs. If you want to be in with a chance to win one of 3 €1,000 prizes tomorrow on this show, John's and David's show, well, please get your ticket today or early tomorrow to make sure you're in all of those draws. Have a lovely, wonderful day. Chat to you tomorrow.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages with